on air? I can't
There we
tell.
are.
Hello, we are on air. We are live, and welcome to the latest edition of the movie discussion Pocket Dimension. Dimension where only time. See, even I can screw it up every once in a while. But the dimension where time does not exist. The only thing that matters is film. As always, I'm Cole, joined by Jay this week, and with a movie like this, there's quite a few different starting points, and for our pre-starting point, I'll just say this is a continuation of one of our sort of soft themes again, where we've embarked on water. Last week we started with the thriller Dead Calm, and then we thought, water. Let's go for the ultimate prize. So now we bring you 1995's Waterworld. So as I said, there's a lot of information and stuff to sift through with a movie like this, and there's a lot of different starting points. And I thought about where to begin, and I thought, because of I don't know how old you are and stuff like that, were you among the people that saw this in theaters in '95?
I saw this, I think, 3 times in the theater.
Wow. So I was going to say, what was your initial reaction? Mm-hmm. So your initial reaction was positive.
I liked it quite a bit. Yes, but again, I've said before, I was easy to please back then.
Oh, so was I. I saw Armageddon in the theater and was completely pleased. My teenage self, so
But
and we don't have to give people the wrong impression either, because Jay actually has quite some positive things to say about this movie, and I'm not going to just dump on it. But this is a movie where a little more. It had been a few years since I've seen it all the way through, and I was sort of remembering it in sort of a fond way. I was like, yeah, it's a fun movie. It's not very smart. It has its problems, but I can enjoy it for the fun that it is. But then when I watched it yesterday, I had no fun at all. I did not have fun.
Oh man. Complete different experience. I had a smile plastered on my face because it is just a huge action film, really.
Sure.
That's all it is. We were talking before the show. It's basically they had to cut it down to where it was a certain run time in order to fit into a certain number of plays per day to give the studio more, the most money possible. So it had to be under the normal 2-hour timeline.
Yeah. The normal theatrical cut, I think, is 2 hours 10 minutes, I believe. Mm-hmm. Or at least that's what I watched yesterday. That was the right one. And yeah, there's talk of, I don't know if you have buy the Blu-ray, is it available to get there's an extended cut that has almost like an hour of other stuff on just how big in scope this movie was. What a long, probably more detailed story, as opposed to what we'd wind up getting in the theatrical cut, which, although I don't know, because my problems with the movie don't seem like they could be fixed by more stuff, but, there's no way of really knowing until I see it, so I don't know. But, so this is a big, big movie. It was a big release, so you were excited about it. You saw it in the theaters. You really liked it. You saw it a couple more times. So that's pretty cool. I'm trying to remember. I was a bit younger. I was at the theater, but it's not one I saw in theater, and I just can't remember really what it was like at the time, what people were saying about it. I saw it on video probably within the year, probably sometime in '96. It's one of the many movies I saw for the first time on rented VHS in Ryan's basement. I saw a lot of movies that way. And again, it's hard to remember my initial reaction to that then. I know that even back then, I didn't really like Kevin Costner, although I'll point out that I have a big weakness for, and it's flawed too, hugely flawed movie, but a big weakness in the movie I love is Prince of Thieves. I love Prince of Thieves, even though Kevin Costner should be nowhere near that movie because he's just terrible in it. I love the movie, and yet the lead's terrible, so that kind of says something about me or it. So, but with that aside, even back then, before I was, a big movie snob or anything like that, I did not like Kevin Costner already. So I think I probably,
See, I pretty much agree with you. Before this he had some baseball movies, whatever, the Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams,
and
which
then,
I hate, but we won't get into.
Well, yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
With the Wolves.
Dances with Wolves, yeah.
Success.
And then, was it this right after that? Was it this right after Dances with Wolves?
Well, there's a 5-year gap there. He did...
Prince of Thieves.
He did Prince of Thieves after that, so that's 91. I'm not sure what he did 92, 93, 94. He might have had smaller roles, but this was the big thing. There was a lot of talk about it beforehand, and it's not unlike he directed Dances with Wolves, right? It's very much like his
Not
film, I
sure.
believe. I think he directed Dances with Wolves. I will just double check on that to
He
be
tends
sure.
to kind of take hold of the reins, regardless. I think
And
so.
that's what I was going to say. This is a film he did not direct. Yeah, he did direct Dances with Wolves. But I can even remember back then, people were saying it was more or less like his film. Like the director was there, but it was more like it was almost sort of he was sort of there, like in a, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Sort of like a ceremonial or whatever kind of position, where it was this was very much his movie, even if he didn't officially get named the director. Is kind of
Mhm.
is what I've heard.
Well,
But yeah, he did
well,
direct Dance with the Wolves. But for Waterworld, it was he's not, I can't even remember.
Kevin Reynolds, is that right? Kevin.
Kevin Reynolds, that's right.
And I mean that he actually left at the
Who
end when
was
they
the
were
director, by the way, of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves? So
right,
that, so
right.
yeah.
They also did Fandango. They did that movie together, so I assume that's probably where they met. But yeah, Kevin Reynolds actually did not want Kevin Costner to be in this film
Okay.
because they clashed so much on Prince of Thieves. But yeah, actually, when they were doing the final edit, Kevin Costner kind of pulled some strings and was able to get his way there. So Reynolds just left. He said, "All right, whatever." Kevin needs to only direct movies that he stars in, so he can have his favorite director and his favorite actor in the same movie.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing that now. Yeah, he walked away and left Costner to supervise the editing process. That's interesting.
Because Kevin Reynolds' original director's cut was, I believe, closer to that 2 hours 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Additional 45 minutes or so to what we got here, the theatrical cut.
And right, and just for the sake of saying it, I assume our audience knows anyway, but I'm pretty sure this is the biggest flop of the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And is, always listed as among bigger flops in, movie history. It was the most expensive film ever made at the time.
It's IMDb says 175, but everywhere else I'm hearing 200. Probably
Wow.
175 plus the marketing. But it
Yeah.
actually did turn a profit in the long run with
In the long run, with like home video and stuff,
home video
and foreign box
and
office,
some other marketing. I think there was a Virtual Boy game out, and which is pretty funny in and of itself.
Talk about hitting something at the wrong time.
Yeah, it did quite well in the foreign market. I think it only grossed around 80 here in the States, but here in North America.
Here, so. And you don't really hear about the foreign market at the time, so everybody hears, it's just sort of a box office bomb here and stuff. And here's another reason why I have to sort of criticize it the way I do is it reminds me of when we were talking about remakes, and I talked about how remakes, you have to judge. I think it's fair to judge remakes more harshly than other movies because just by their very nature, they kind of have to justify their existence. Now, they might be trying to do a reimagining or an update and make various changes, but at the end of the day, it's a repetition. And to me, if you're going to do a repetition, you need to justify it. In the case of Dances with Wolves, this was the most expensive film ever made, and you have to justify it. That's why I can't say, oh, it's just a stupid, fun movie. Now I can enjoy it because I'm just thinking, well, imagine if the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie Cyborg, which I kind of enjoy and get a kick out of, imagine that was the most expensive film ever made at the time. Mm-hmm. And Jean-Claude Van Damme was wasn't him, but he was like, a somewhat respected actor that had like done an Oscar-winning film and stuff like that. Just imagine, because I can't put this anywhere above a movie like that. Like, that's the best I can do for enjoying this movie. Like, stupid fun does not justify this massive, massive endeavor.
I mean, at least in this case, you can see some of that money on the screen.
I mean, sure. And it's not like everything's a failure.
They made lots of mistakes. I guess we can get into that. Number one was filming it in the open water, which that alone is going to cost you money.
Right. As we point out, water, if you want something that will drive up your budget, it's water. 2 years later, the most expensive movie ever made again was Titanic, the difference being it would be one of the most successful. But even today, at the very top of the list of most expensive movies ever made, 1 and 2 are both Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And the common denominator, water.
That's astonishing.
What's most astonishing is that it's not the one you would think. It's the weird 4th one that came out in 2011 that's the most expensive. It's over $300 million.
Black Pearl?
No, that's the first one. No, it's You know, they had the normal trilogy. They had the normal trilogy, and then like no movies for like 6 years, and then they did one in 2011 that nobody even really seemed to care about. Stranger Tides. That is the most expensive movie ever made to date. Stranger Tides.
Wow. Did it get close as far as making a profit?
Oh yeah, they're all very profitable movies.
Wow, that's crazy.
So they did more or less pay off. Although it once you're getting up into those astronomical numbers, we've talked about before. Why does everything have to be that? But that's another reason why this movie stands out, because as you said, nobody could ever confirm it, but a lot of people think the budget got right up around 200 million, which is completely unprecedented in the 90s. There was nothing that did that until Titanic did it. And some people say Titanic's budget was 200 million. Some people say it was a little less. That's another one where when you're getting to like the exact figure, it wavers a little bit exactly what it is.
There's always a discrepancy between, the marketing campaign, whether that's included in that budget or not. I think sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. So, on paper, it may actually turn a budget, but because of the marketing, it didn't. Because nowadays, marketing is just ridiculously expensive for these things. These huge monstrosity movies like this. This film is really like it set the bar for the modern movie we have today, because it's gotten even worse as far as.
Oh, really? Because the $200 million movie is basically a 21st century phenomenon. Mm-hmm. That's why this movie is special, because it at least flirted with the $200 million mark before it became the norm. And it wasn't just a overnight thing either. $200, there was basically between Titanic and then a gap till 2005. That was how long before $200 million movies started popping up. Now the last decade or so, there have been a bunch between the various superhero movies.
Yeah. Like the Captain Americas, the Avengers, yeah.
And a few others that just sort of stand. Avatar, of course, being another James Cameron thing. And then just there's a few that are a little more surprising. The one that surprises me the most is Tangled. Tangled cost $260 million, which blows my friggin' mind, because I realize that high quality animation isn't cheap, but Jesus, $260 million, and again, that was a successful movie, but I just don't know where the money went on Tangled. And I think Tangled was a great movie.
Yeah, I did too.
But I don't know where all the money went for that.
I wonder.
Have comparable animation that are way under.
I thought Frozen was the same studio or the same animation company.
Right, and Frozen isn't even on the goddamn list.
I mean, it even looks similar. The way the faces are drawn.
That's what I'm saying. Where did all the extra money go for Tangled? Because Tangled is up high; it's in the top 10.
I mean, you could think maybe Mandy Moore got a decent piece, maybe 15, 20 million. I don't know.
I suppose. Like I said, I'll have to look into that and see exactly why it's so up there. And probably kind of the most notable big budget failure recently. Budget, and was a pretty failure. A movie I kind of enjoyed, but I understand the problems with it.
Which one was that?
The John Carter film.
Oh. Yeah, I think the name may have been a big.
Yeah, we talked about it before. Like, I think the marketing wasn't really good. Like, people didn't really know what it was. John Carter. Well, what's that? But yeah, no, it's not bad. But it cost $263 million. Oh
well, no movie should cost that much money.
This is what blows my mind. As of today, there are 3 movies that have a budget over $300 million. The Justice League being the most recent. And then the third of the big trilogy, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, at World's End, was at the time, that was 2007. It was way out in front, 300 million, and it would keep that for 10 years. Or you'd think it would keep that for 10 years, except that 4 years later, on Stranger Tides, says it has a budget of 378 million. I mean, that's not like 310 million or 315 million. That's a massive leap. So that kind of blows my mind too. It's crazy. So yeah, if you look up a list of like the most expensive movies, all of them are from the 21st century except for Titanic. But as we said, this movie's notable for being ahead of the curve as far as that goes, flirting with $200 million. Because back not even 10 years earlier, Who Framed Roger Rabbit was the most expensive film ever made. It was the first film to break $100 million for the budget. So we see how these things it's like a snowball effect.
Yeah.
In our lifetime, a $400 million movie, that'll be, that won't be a slow thing. That these go faster and faster, it seems.
Yeah, that's it. seems crazy to me, but
there's a few on the list that stand out like as just like awful decisions. Worse, even though they didn't cost as much as Junk Car, they seem a lot worse to me. Those would be The Lone Ranger.
Yeah, now that flopped, right?
Yeah, that flopped. What else we got? Men in Black 3. I don't think that flopped, but it's just amazing to me that it had such a budget. Battleship, $209 million for Battleship.
Wow.
That 2012 movie was also right on the $200 million.
I haven't seen any of these movies, by the way.
I've not seen Battleship or 2012, but I did see The Lone Ranger, and I did see it in theater, and I was disappointed in it, but I didn't realize it did quite as poorly until later on. That's another movie where I'm not really even sure where the budget went, because it does have it has one redeemable quality, and this is one of the things I'll come around when I'm talking about this movie too, because we say the strength, probably the main strength of Waterworld is that, as you said, it's it displays as like an action set pieces. You've got really nice sets, and then you have some fairly elaborate action scenes happening in them. I don't think any of it's bad, but none of it is really memorable to me anyway. But what I will say about The Lone Ranger is the movie's pretty bleh, but the last 25 minutes is riveting. There's a really good action sequence with this, trying to chase down a train, and all this stuff is going on on a horseback and a train and all these things moving. And it's really, really, really well done and really impressive. It can't completely save the movie, but it's a really great bit. And I don't, to me personally, I don't find any parts in Waterworld that are like impressive on their, I don't know. I guess maybe on a smaller scale, like the bad guys, like City itself, this big iron rusted Hulk, is a bit impressive in its way. Although I don't know if they did enough with it. They blow it up very quickly.
Yeah.
We don't see it for very much, and already they're blowing it up. But
it probably doesn't get 15 minutes of screen time.
No,
20 minutes maybe.
The weirdest part is the first time you get to see it. I kind of enjoy it because you get to see the smokers back at their base and what they're doing. You finally get to see like where they're coming from and where they live, and it's kind of neat. And they're like driving this busted car like down the hallways and stuff like that, playing the Mike Hammer theme. Like, what is that? That really took me out of the movie. That suddenly the Mike Hammer theme starts playing in the middle of this post-apocalyptic movie. I feel like that was a really odd choice.
Yeah, I know there was a lot more of that in the extended or whatever, the smokers and their lifestyle, and apparently they had a religion too. And
yeah, I get that might have been interesting to see. I mean, I can't say, but
there was a whole separate group of these what do you call them, nomads, or the drifter people, a big community called the Slavers. But I think in one of the hurricane problems, it got the whole set got destroyed, so they just rewrote the Slavers out. Because if you remember, like earlier in the film, they
mention, but you never see them.
Yeah, I'm always
which is a little too bad.
The Slavers, that seems cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. As we said, it's basically Mad Max, but like inverted, because now there's too much water.
That being said, though, I love Mad Max. So it's
I love Mad Max, but I just feel like this is just some sort of weak approximation of it. And here, you're not going to like me for saying this, but here's one of the problems I have with the set pieces and the smokers and everything like that. Whenever I see this movie, the visual style and everything, I can't separate it from Hook. It reminds me of freaking Never Land. I feel like I'm watching all the pirates in Pirates Bay and Never Land and stuff.
I could see that. Yeah,
that's really how it feels. So it didn't feel It didn't feel. It felt like a kidsy version of this gritty, edgy world. Is really how I felt. Even though they really try hard for the gritty, edgy, right? The anti-hero that's such a prick, you can barely root for him.
Yeah.
Bad move. It's just when you do these sorts of things, you need to balance it with other things. Like
Yeah.
I'm fine with having an anti-hero that's a bit of a prick and, you know, isn't just some good guy, although he turns out to be a good guy. And I kind of applaud them for going as far as they do with him. You know, he's like about to sell them and throw them overboard and all this stuff. Then he's, you know.
We will get into my hatred of Hook in the very near future. But yeah, but Hook, it was obviously filmed on a set though. If you noticed that.
Sure, yeah.
All of the water scenes, like, oh man, it's such an interesting idea to me. You know, that the Earth is covered with water, and all these people that, you know, it's so far out there that it's just kind of interesting to me.
Well, coming back to that later, I'll show you something that I think is a much better version of that. I forgot to bring it into the room with me, so I'll have to go get it. But
do you have the graphic novel?
No, it's a completely unrelated graphic novel.
Oh, okay.
That I just think is better. But yeah, as we said, this was a huge movie. It had a graphic novel release at the time, and it had a video game, and a whole bunch of stuff was tied into it.
I think I know what you're going to bring up. Yeah, I heard about. I think what you're going to talk about, but you can save it.
Yep. Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, we've got. This film started out as a $30 million film when Universal picked it up. Roger Corman was actually one of the first people to shop it around when he had the script written, because the post-apocalyptic was so popular around that period of time. He had find the original writer, Peter Rader, wrote the script, which I think there were 5 writers on this. Only 3 are credited, or only 2 are credited. But Peter Rader wrote the original draft, and for Roger Corman, I believe. And when he read it, he laughed him out of his office because he said, "There's no way I can make this for less than $3 million." So anyway, he was, I think, given $350,000 for his script, and then Universal picked it up and they offered him another $100,000 when it actually gets made. So that's when they were shopping around directors, and they came upon Kevin Reynolds. And it started out at $30 million, and then I think it went to $60 million, and then they kept adding more and more to it. Then it went to $100.
Yeah, that was the budget that Universal approved. Apparently, they said, "Okay, 100. Here's your limit, 100."
And then I think all of the setbacks and delays, and all of I think 3 times they had to stop production because of hurricanes. Because they're stupid and shot it during the hurricane season. They're off the coast of Hawaii.
Yep.
And just all sorts of accidents and problems and just bad planning. Really,
just for everybody to get around, whether you were important or not, you had to have like your own jet ski. You can just imagine the logistical issue that is. That just everybody has to have a jet ski just to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Kevin Costner had his own personal yacht that brought him. He had an $800,000 yacht that brought him to and from the set every day. So I don't know how much that cost to rent. In addition to his very expensive villa that he rented that had his own personal butler and maid on staff, his own personal swimming pool. So
the one group that profited from all this was Hawaii itself. This pumped millions of dollars into the local Hawaiian economy. So Hawaii,
which is great,
got a bit of a boost.
Yeah. Oh man, so many weird, like they used up all of the steel on the entire island. They had to bus in all this extra steel or fly in all this extra steel from California. Just to really not plan very well. I mean, I think that's probably why they went over that $100 million rather quickly.
Yeah, some of this stuff could have been avoided. I mean, when you're filming on the water, there are always problems to crop up, no matter who you are, what you're doing. But some of this stuff, yeah, I think you said it was poorly thought out, and sometimes there are just logistical issues that I don't know, they didn't even think of that will wind up costing them, tens of millions of dollars here and there and stuff like that, plus time. And then you've got the whole trouble production thing. You've got Reynolds being upset with Costner doing his backseat directing and things like that. As I said from the beginning, what's funny to me is like Costner is completely wrong for this project to me. Completely wrong. I don't buy him as this character whatsoever. And I mean, everybody's different, and lots of people can, and everybody has their own hang-ups and stuff like that. But I mean, obviously, a lot of people feel the same way as me. This is one of the reasons why the movie didn't do so well. Because I mean, I know I personally can't enjoy the Tim Burton movies because I do not buy scrawny little what's his name as Batman. Even though a lot of people really like him, I just can't. I'm just like, he's just, But anyway, but a lot of people. But in this one, I think a lot of people have trouble seeing Kevin Costner as this sort of, I don't know, world-weary, loner, tough guy. And basically his attempt to pull this off is much, doesn't show much emotion. We've seen it a few times. It's like in The Driver and stuff like that. But I cannot stand the way Costner does it.
I think that's what he's going for. It doesn't bother me. I don't know why, but I know it bothers a lot of people, his choice of acting. And it bothers
me because it's just going way too far. Again, I get the basis for it. You're like an anti-hero. You're a loner type. You wouldn't say much. And yet he still manages to go way too far. The best part probably for me, the best reaction ever is like after they make the stupid, again, huge plot hole point of just leaving the girl alone so the bad guys can come get her. Bonehead move, because he even says to her, he's just like, tell me the truth, they are after her. And she's like, yeah, she's special, they're after her. He's like, okay, let's leave her alone, hunt us. Anyway, huge plot hole there. But anyway, is when he comes back, or no, not when he comes back, after the whole encounter and the bad guys, try to kill them and take the girl away and they burn the boat, and he comes back up and everything's burnt and he goes, my boat.
My boat. Yeah.
Like awful. You can't do another take of that. Like I don't need him to go, my boat. Maybe he just sort of blankly stares and goes, my boat. Like, oh my God. But I don't want to just pick on Costner. I don't like any of the actors at all in any of the roles. And it seems to me as soon as they cast Hopper, they stop taking themselves seriously. They're like, yeah, sure, get Dennis Hopper in here. He'll be an over-the-top guy. He'll make stupid jokes, and the audience will eat up them. Again, I'm saying this is the most expensive film production ever. This isn't some B movie. This isn't Cyborg, whatever. This is the right villain for you. And I'm not even saying Hopper's not good at serious acting. He's done it before. But it's clear to me these were not the instructions he was given. They're like, play it off all cartoony. And he's like, yeah. Like that was a choice they made.
I like Dennis Hopper. I don't have a problem with him at all.
They're trying to present this really edgy world, and then they're undermining themselves by making like parts goofy and over the top and stuff. I guess that's how I feel.
Hey, you know why they're called the Smokers?
No, that's another thing. Why are they called the Smokers?
Because they smoke.
I guess that makes sense. Because I was going to say, isn't it great whenever this isn't the only movie that does that, but isn't it great how sometimes when you have movies that are post-apocalyptic, they're set in the future of our world, meaning our world existed, then something happened, and history was lost and stuff. Because they only have like a vague sense of what the world before was. A lot of them don't even know, that the world used to have like a lot more land and people on it, like. And that's the big revelation, that him having the ability to go underwater, he can see what the world was before. And he sees the buildings and cities and stuff like that. But it's weird to me, like some of the stuff that they lost and some of the stuff they kept. And what's most weird of all is how they seem to have lost the term pirates.
Yeah.
The Smokers. And I'm like, really? Pirate? That's a world that was lost. That was a word that was lost to history in this completely naval world. And yet you have all these naval traditions, like communicating with flags and stuff like that. Yeah. You would think the naval stuff would dominate, and yet the word pirates is lost in the lexicon. So they have to come up with smokers and stuff.
He actually puts a pirate hat on at one point.
Yep.
And he has an eye patch.
Yep. The eye patch was a really subtle touch.
When he has the fake eye put in, that whole scene, man. When he turns his head real fast and it flies out, like I lose my mind every time. It's so funny.
They're all going, yeah, it looks really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome. It's better than before. And then the kid's like, it's shit. He's like, it does look like shit. All this stuff they cut out, but they kept that, apparently.
In the edited version, it says slime. Does it does look like slime, and it feels like coal slime.
Oh, you love those edits. They're always so bad. But the only thing I'll give that is, like, I'd almost forgotten about that by the time I'd seen the movie again, that happens. Because I was about to call the movie out on the fact that he even escapes that explosion. Because at least they're showing, okay, the explosion at least hurts him. Because, once again, this was an easy fix. This is not something that would have taken skill. This would have taken common sense. And that would have been edited so that he doesn't jump off less than a second before it explodes in a fireball.
Mm-hmm.
Give him a little more time, then it's a little bit more believable that he actually survives. But I'll give them a little bit of points, because at least they say, well, he got a bad injury. Because a lot of even worse movies will be like, yeah, he's fine. He jumped off in time. Yeah. But yeah, that explosion. Because I was just like it just goes, he just jumped. Not even a second passes. You can time it. It is less than a second, him jumping and the explosion, and yet he survives. But anyway,
yeah,
I don't want to go too far on that, because a lot of action movies, the whole point is, even Die Hard has stuff like that, right? So I'm not going to come down really hard on it for that. I'm just thinking that's an easy fix. Just hold it for a couple more seconds and then explode. But anyway.
Yeah, I've always thought, like, how much could you actually tolerate? Like, I mean, how much? I don't know. Probably none. Like, it was any explosion at all, you would definitely die.
Yeah, I mean, plus you're landing in the water, so even if you had injuries that maybe somebody could crawl away from, you would drown, right? You're not in any. You're gravely injured. Yes, if you got medical attention, you might survive, but that's if you're on, like, ground. In the water, you'll just sink and die. But anyway, I mean, again, I don't want to pick apart the movie overthinking everything like that, but I'm just saying it. Just that edit, it's just so fast. He's just like jump, boom. I just couldn't believe it, because it's just like, it's almost a revelation to see that he's alive, or a surprise. You're like, wow, he survived that, but he did lose an eye.
That the first little city he goes to and trades the dirt that you're talking about. Sure. That was probably the part that felt the most like Mad Max to me, when the smokers show up and you've got the guy in the chair with surrounded by 50 cal.
Oh yeah, it's very much.
He's got like a weird pig nose on. It's just weird stuff, and everybody's covered with dirt and grime. Yeah. The Atoll floating set. I was trying to think of that. It was
I mean, it's an interesting event. It's up like a ramp. Fly. Yeah. At least it's a bit unique. I give it credit for that. It's not something you see in every movie.
And then you've got guys on skis that fly off of it, which is pretty funny. I mean, the jet skis I get, but the guys actually on skis.
Yeah, they're hitting the walls and stuff, and you're just like, well, yeah, sure. They're not all very good at what they do. But
I love that.
Yeah, that already brings up one of my first problems logistically with the plot and stuff. Is like they lock him up for no reason and sentence him to death, like even death. And they seem upset that he's like one of those. I guess there's at least rumors that there are mutants, people that have the gills and stuff. And instead of thinking that he would be incredibly useful to them, they just think, yeah, let's kill him, which seems ridiculous. Like, I would think he would be a huge asset. I could understand people want, like, the smokers coming after him, but it wouldn't be to kill him. It would be to, like, use him, maybe breed him and stuff. Right. It's like, yeah, we have these people that can breathe underwater and dive down into deep depths. Because that's the other thing. That's the explanation. Everybody thinks he's been to dry land. He hasn't. Well, how does he get this stuff? It's because he can dive deep down and get the artifacts. I like that. That's cool. But it just seems like weird that people aren't really interested in that. They just want to kill him for it.
Yeah, it's all because he's a mutant, right? That's the only reason they want to kill him.
Yeah, that really is. Like, that's all they say. I mean, again, on the one hand, I understand if you're prejudiced, and it's easy to believe there would be prejudice. But I'm not saying they would love him. I'm just saying I don't think they'd be stupid enough to kill him. They could even make a slave out of him, perhaps. I'm saying, because they talk about evolution, and I get it. It's one of the things that comes up like in X-Men and stuff. It's like the people resent the X-Men because they think maybe they're the next step in evolution and we'll go extinct, and that kind of thing. And I get it because this is a water world. He's somebody that's adapted better to the water world. I can understand being jealous of him.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would be jealous. I think
you'd be jealous of him, but you'd at least be smart enough not to just kill him outright. You could use him.
Well, I mean, they're about to. This is after he turned down the opportunity to breed with this young Asian girl.
And what's funny, it was like they wanted that just because he was an outsider,
right.
not because they knew about that. But you would think that would make him even more. They'd be like, here, breed with every girl here. Is what you think what they'd say. And he turns it down for reasons that they don't explain.
Well, they say it's weird that a man who's been out to sea that long would turn down a woman.
It does seem weird. Especially, I don't understand this code of honor he has. Like, he's just, not interested, but I will, sell these people into sexual slavery. Oh, you know what? I changed my mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not going to take advantage of you because she flat out asked him, why didn't you why didn't you take me when I offered myself or whatever? He's like, because you didn't really want me.
I'm like, wow, you're a little more emotional than we thought you were there. Yeah, so I think his character's a bit uneven when it comes to things like that, because on the one hand, and I mean, again, I get it, when we've seen this trope in movies before, where you have a tough loner guy, and then over time he softens and shows that he's still kind of a good guy deep down, sure, but yeah, I think there's just some weird inconsistencies and stuff like that again, might have been fleshed out and explained a little better. There might have been additional scenes and stuff that would have helped that have been cut, as we talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe so. There was quite a bit of that dialogue between those two characters in particular. Whatever her name is, the main woman.
Helen.
Great name. Yeah.
And he's not named, by the way. He's known as the Mariner.
The Mariner, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty funny that they just oh, no, they're talking. Nope, cut it out. Nope, we've got to have explosions.
Yeah. And this movie has plenty of those, and they're well done for the most part, although I have my little problem with that explosion Dennis Hopper survived, but we'll move on from that. But yeah, here's another one of the stranger moments of the plot, is while he's at the atoll, whenever all hell breaks loose and the bad guys are attacking and everything's going. So the old man that Helen is friends with had been making a balloon flying machine that he was going to take Helen and the girl Enola with him. But then he just winds up going off by accident and leaving them. He's like, oh, I can't control it.
I can't stop it.
And I'm just thinking, and I'm like, Oz? That happens at the end of Wizard of Oz, when Dorothy's supposed to leave, and the old man's like, come on my balloon. But then it's...
I like that actor, though. He passed away a few years ago, I think. There you go. You're back.
I was going to say, what did you say? You like the actor?
Yeah, I like the actor that plays that crazy guy in the balloon. Sorry, you're cutting out a little bit. I was just trying to fill the void.
Yeah, it's no problem. Sorry. It's hard on my end to tell when it's happening. Because for me, I see you freeze. So sorry about that, folks, if it's getting a little discombobulated here. I wish I could... What's going on? Problem with that actor. He's okay.
But yeah, I mean, somehow they find out that she has this map on her back that apparently leads to dry land. I don't know how. I guess somehow word got around that that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, they free Kevin Costner, the Mariner, out of the muck that he's sinking into. and he has to agree to take them with him, which he does. And then soon after they escape, he wants to throw the little one off, and I think actually does throw her, just straight up throws her off the boat because they don't have enough food or water. And then he changes his mind, and I don't know. It's kind of hard to root for this guy when he's constantly trying to kill innocent people. But this is when it comes to your favorite part, I think, when Janine Triplehorn is asking for food.
Man, maybe I should go out and come.
Yeah, why don't you try that?
I might have to go out and come back in because I'm still here. Sorry about this, folks. Hopefully I can fix this.
I'd say I can handle this by myself. I don't need Cole here. I could do this whole show by myself. So no, I was kind of sad to find out that was a nude stand-in for Janine Triplehorn. That was always one of my favorite parts of the movie when I was a young lad. Seeing the nude scene, she offers herself to him.
See if that's any better.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hopefully it'll last. Talking about the nude stand-in for Janine Triplehorn.
Oh, that was I wasn't aware.
I wasn't either. Kind of sad to find that out.
I was gonna say it's a bit different why he throws her off the boat, because at first, yes, he's saying that he's gonna get rid of one or both of them because they don't have enough food or water to survive any better. But actually, he's at least softened on that by the time he throws her off. When he throws the kid off, he's not actually trying to kill her. He's just annoyed by her blabbing, and he's just shocked to find out she can't swim, which is really stupid. He even points it out later. Because he throws her off, and she's like, she can't swim, and she jumps in and saves her. And then a little later in the movie, he's like, I never met someone who couldn't swim before. Because they at least pointed out. Because I think at this time, me and most of the audience is like, she can't swim. It's Waterworld, and she can't swim.
Yeah, but I mean, what are the chances of her getting eaten by whatever giant monster lives in that water? That he goes skiing and catches food.
Yeah. I was saying, I was watching that movie yesterday with the headphones on, and I had forgotten it from all those years that she does that. And it just, where she's just saying, we're about to meet another drifter, and she's saying why they should go talk to him, and she's like, maybe they have some food, except she screams the word food out of nowhere, and it just jolted me. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But again, I have a lot of problems with the dialogue and the pacing and the plot holes and stuff. Like, there's a part where so backing up a bit, he'd been in the cage, and they were going to recycle him by dumping him into the chemicals or whatever like that. And then in the confusion of the smoker's attack, his cage falls into it, and he starts to slowly sink out. And she frees him with the cage if he agree with him saying, yes, I'll take you, that she can escape with the girl and that. But then they're not even... So she asked him. So now they're getting his boat ready, and they're trying to depart the chaos of all the shooting and blowing up going around, stuff like that. And he's saying, do this, do that. And she goes, can I trust you? Which is a ridiculous at that moment. He could have been like, no. Like, what's she going to do? Jump off? Just a really stupid time for that line. Like, I can understand her asking him at some point, but it's not good writing. Why would she ask that in the heat of they're trying to get away? Can I trust you? Like, I would just roll my eyes so hard, like they go back into my brain.
Well, I mean, maybe that's
moment.
Part of some of that editing. I don't know. Maybe that's something was lost there.
Maybe. It's very possible. But what we get is just like almost a nonsensical exchange, like as if anybody would pick that moment to say that thing.
I agree.
Like, yes, now is the time for you to talk about whether or not you can trust him, even though, again, it was your idea to go with him in the first place. You were like, I'll save you if you take us with you. But anyway, I don't want to harp on that too much, but it's just one of there's at least several moments in the movie like that where somebody says something or does something that just seems really out of step with what's sensible.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's kind of past the point of asking if she can trust someone, because, I mean, she's already freed him and kind of, made her choice. So too late now if you can't trust him. She can't, because he sells her up for what is it? A piece of paper, like a physical piece of paper.
Yeah, like the other drifter he meets had this paper used, of course, that was written on, and he's really fascinated by it. He's like, yeah, you can fuck her.
And he wants 45 minutes with the wee one.
Which he at least says no to. He says no to that.
Which is, yeah, I mean,
the whole encounter with the other drifter, I didn't really have any problems with, to tell you the truth. I figured, yeah, there's a lot of bad men on the high seas, and here's one.
That was the whole point, I think, to show her, because she just wanted something to eat, and it was her idea to talk to this guy to begin with.
Yeah, and I think saying, okay, this is what you get for engaging with these people.
Yeah,
is sort of teach her a lesson. So maybe it meant he always intended to scare her a bit.
Whoever that guy is does a great job of playing like a crazy person.
Yeah, he's
crazy. Yeah.
As I said, I got really no issue with that scene. I think it's one of the more well done and well thought out moments in the movie. But yeah, the idea that you're out to sea too long, you only stop in here and there, and you just kind of just do what you want, and you're going crazy.
Yeah, I've seen that guy in some other stuff. He was in Battlefield Earth.
Wow.
And Goon also.
I don't remember him in Goon.
It was in Goon 2 also.
I still have to watch Goon 2. I will.
Yeah, I've heard it's not too good.
Yeah, I still have to watch it out of loyalty, though. Because I really did like the first one.
But, yeah, it does a great job of just acting like a lunatic who's been out to sea too long.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
I don't really have anything critical to say about that scene. It's pretty good. It fits the story well and stuff.
The scene when he goes out and catches the big fish, that's actually my worst or my least favorite part of the movie. Is I had forgotten that there was CGI in this, and this was pretty terrible.
Yeah, and I don't even know why it was necessary that it had to be some sort of like giant sea worm. I guess what they're just trying to say is like with humans like mostly wiped out, like sea life got even crazier. But I don't know. Since they never specify how long it's really been a disaster, it's kind of impossible to tell.
We don't know how long, but I mean, how long do you really think a land-dwelling animal could last?
Yeah, that's something. I'm thinking like there's no way it's been like thousands of years, maybe a couple centuries.
I mean,
because you have to think, a tiny fraction, like 99% of humanity just died. Oceans came, destroyed cities, and like maybe 1% of the population has survived. And as you said, now they don't have land. Just getting fresh water is almost fucking impossible, right?
That's the biggest thing to me. Is I mean,
where's there all these people drinking?
Right.
Like all the people that live on the Rusted Hulk, like where are they getting water from?
Yeah, shot of hydro.
Yeah, don't you love how the movie opens with him like showing how he gets his water, converting his piss? Which is, on the one hand, I get it, but on the other hand, I'm like, you're trying to establish something very serious, so then the comedic and over-the-top stuff doesn't work for me, is one of the reasons.
It wasn't comedic to me. I mean, that's a legitimate survival skill.
No, that's what I mean. I mean, the comedic stuff that comes after doesn't. I felt like that was that was really trying to show us right off the bat, like, how tough survival is in this landscape, this world. Like, this is what he's reduced to. And he can only even get a little bit of drinkable water out of it. So it's like, wow, this is harsh. And I feel like later, more, goofy comedic stuff doesn't line up with stuff like that. But
I mean, how long can you survive off your piss, though? Like, I would think not very long. Like, what, 1 or 2 times, and it's like nothing left, right?
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, there's been account of, people like miners who are trapped managing to stretch it out. But that's not like, months at sea. Which this guy apparently does. He goes off on months and months alone.
But I mean, I guess we can just say maybe there's a lot of rainfall.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I can make allowances for him surviving, but not like these groups of people. Because I'll say, because in my mind, even though they never specify, I'd say, okay, he's got the gills and stuff. He's a fish. He's got like fish elements to him, so maybe he doesn't need to drink as much. Maybe every time he dives into the water, he's able to get a little something out of it, because obviously, aquatic life doesn't drink because they're in the water. So I'm able to rationalize it with him a bit, that maybe he is able to do what he does because he doesn't need to rely on water the way normal humans do. But yeah, then when you see like these communities, like all the people on all the people on Deacon's boat. It's like, where are they all getting their fucking water from? But
well, you could just think they're running around stealing it from everyone else. Whoever's got it, they're stealing it. And I mean, hell, they're drinking like Jack Daniels and shit. Like, where are they getting that from?
I know, if they got Jack Daniels again, like that's like hundreds of years old, isn't it?
I mean,
and he doesn't even finish the bottle; he breaks it like it's nothing.
No, yeah, that was a plot hole right there.
Because you would think that would be that because I mean I get it why he has it. It shows his status and power. Right, Look what he has. He has liquor from the old favored world, like a priceless item. But then he just smashes it like it's nothing.
That would be priceless, I would think.
Yeah. Oh. But yeah, the more I saw of like that place, the more I thought of like the Lost Boys and stuff, and the Pirates and Never Never Land. It just really felt that way to me. Like they have that scene. I don't know why the little girl's named Enola. I guess there's nothing wrong with it. Somebody like me, it just makes me think of the bombing of Hiroshima. But
it's Alone backwards, I guess.
Yeah, I just think of the Enola Gay. The Enola Gay was one of the planes that dropped the bombs. And I know not everybody thinks that way or anything like that. I'm just saying it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And I guess that's the most obvious thing about it, really, is that it's Alone backwards, which is fine. I'm not really sure what her origins supposed to be. I guess she was born on land, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was actually born on land, and then something happened that made her wind up out to sea.
Apparently, Asian parents. I don't know why they wrote in whatever that thing that they tattooed on her back is some sort of Asian symbol, isn't it?
That's what it looked like. I mean, I don't know if it was supposed to be real or if it was just a fictional thing based on something real. Like I'm not sure
because it had coordinates on it. That's what the numbers were, and apparently even though it doesn't tell you in this film, that's a lot of the stuff they cut out. It's Mount Everest. That's
okay.
What those coordinates.
Had no idea.
But they cut that out. They actually say it in the other extended cut.
Yeah, see, this is a problem. There's certain things like that never become clear. So she was born on land, but they tattooed it on her back because they wanted her to help lead people back to land. So did they send her out? Did she get kidnapped? Did the people die? Like, there's not enough to really explain any of that. I can understand she's young enough that she can't really remember, when she was 2, 3, 4, just little hazy memories, just like anybody. But I don't know. I would have liked something that explained that a little better.
Yeah, I think it went into that also.
All you get is, yes, she was born on land. Presumably the tattoo was so she could lead people back to land. So that meant she was supposed to go out to sea at some point, but we don't know the circumstances of how she went out to sea or anything like that. All we know is that she wound up where she wound up, and Helen, became like her mother.
Well, going forward a good bit, when they actually find it, it's they find her, I guess, supposed parents, and they're just bones. They're just like, it looks like a Halloween store bones, just laying on this like a cot next to a picture of the tattoo, which is
it's kind of weird finding bones like that together, because it's like, did they die at the exact same time, or you'd have to think somebody died before the other? I mean, I guess I can get it a little bit though. Somebody will die, so you just lie right down next to them. Maybe they're your wife or husband. So I'm not gonna pick that apart too much, but it is kind of a funny thing to find.
If you ever see bones in the wild that are like perfectly laid out like that, something's up, because animals would get a hold of it, and
yeah, for sure.
It's
just this little hut. I'm pretty sure stuff could get in there, right?
I mean, just natural shifting, and wind and everything else. Yeah,
sure, but that's artistic license.
Sure.
Which I think is defensible in some cases and not in others. I think it's somewhat defensible in this one because the movie's definitely got bigger problems. But I will admit, in like my struggle to watch it yesterday, there might have been things that I missed just because I wasn't good at paying attention. For instance, after and the Mariner and Helen emerge, and they're pretty much fucked. They're stuck on, she's gone. They're stuck on the disabled ship and stuff, and then they luck into the guy coming and finding them. Even though now they are somewhat saved in that one of them even remarks, like, how do we save Enola? We don't even know what direction they came from. Right. I missed how the next thing I key up and he's found them. How did he find them?
Find them on that ship?
The Exxon Valdez, as it turns out. I guess they thought that was hilarious.
Oh, it is.
Yes. How does he track them? Because all I can remember is them saying, like, okay, they've got Enola, and we have no way of knowing where they went. We don't even know what direction they came from. Next thing I know, he's found the place.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure. I just know that he says, "I'm glad you burned your boat because I wouldn't have been able to find you without seeing the smoke." So maybe,
Yeah, and I say that helps it a little bit that he like the huge coincidence that this guy happened to find them. I say that helps a little bit. Yes, he could have honed in on the smoke, although still he could have been in a completely different place, or even then he wouldn't have seen the smoke. Again, they have to move the plot forward somehow, so I don't want to jump on it too much.
you didn't think
So actually, how
you didn't think the Exxon Valdez was cute? Was kind of a nice touch there.
it's fine. You know,
they had a picture of the captain. Like he actually talks to him. Dennis Hopper's like, "That's right, Captain Ron," or whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah, it is kind of funny that he remembers him as like one of the great captains of the old world, when of course he's one of the great fuck ups of the old world.
I had to look up who the hell that was. I was like, "Who the fuck is that person?" And then I finally realized it. I was like, "Man, that really dates that movie because people aren't even gonna know what the Exxon Valdez is anymore."
Yeah, that was '89. So yeah, it was something people talk. I mean, I remember. So yeah, it totally does date it. But I mean, I do get how it's funny though, because he's thinking, here's one of the great captains from the old world, the worst captains from the old world, which is pretty funny.
And we're talking thousands of years in the future, and there's still oil in this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's their power. That's why they're able to oil supply to fuel their stuff, including a seaplane with Captain Jack Black.
I didn't recognize him either. I didn't know that was him until after I was looking at the cast.
Oh, I recognize him. I mean, it's fine. It doesn't take me out of the movie. It's just one of those things I think it's kind of funny that Jack Black was, one of the smokers, a smoker pilot.
He didn't have a guitar in his hand, so I didn't recognize him. But, yeah, he does a fine job.
Yeah, he's fine. He's pretty good at, like, looking all scummy, which is all you really need to be to play a smoker.
He's done that quite a few times. He was in Demolition Man, playing a similar type character, living in like a rat person living underground with Dennis Leary.
I know I'm screwing up again, but we'll try to deal with it as best we can. I don't know why I'm having a night like this.
You want to try to connect again? It seemed to work better when you did that last time.
It's the best option. I hate butchering our episode like this, but yeah, I guess it's worse if I just keep cutting out. It's been a long time since I've had these issues.
Yeah,
I remember there were a few last year, so I don't really know. Nothing's really changed, just random stuff, which is a little too bad. Apologize again for that, folks. Making it a bit uneven to watch. Of course, now this whole time I'm talking, everything's fine. So I don't know. But as I said, for most of the humor I don't like in the movie, but of course there's one bit, and I think you know what I'm going to say, that I think is really funny, and it is the man in the oil. The man whose life, I guess, is just to always be down in the dark in the oil to check the levels. Apparently, Dennis Hopper is so evil he won't even let this guy ever come up. Like, he down there.
Yeah.
So that his whole life is down there in the darkness in the oil. So when you get flare and he sees the flare, he just goes, "Oh, thank God!" Like that. Yeah, that's funny. Sure.
It's sad, but yeah. He's like sitting in like a shitty little canoe or something in there.
Yeah.
Hey, only got 10 feet left of the black stuff, boss.
Yeah, Dennis Hopper like spits on him and he thanks him for it.
Oh man, that's so over the top, man.
In a world, never spit.
Yeah, exactly. You would hold on to that.
You'll die of thirst a lot faster if you're spitting. Spitting Deacon.
Probably wouldn't drink either. That would dehydrate you.
Yeah, dehydrate you. So again, I get it with Deacon. They're trying to show his power, his place. Like he gets water before everybody else. He's obviously at the top.
Also they're floating on like a giant thing full of oil. They probably shouldn't be smoking so many cigarettes. Just me.
They're floating on a giant what? Sorry.
I was saying they're floating on a giant thing full of oil, so they probably shouldn't smoke so many cigarettes.
Yeah. But they're the smokers, damn it. That's apparently their whole identity. Again, there's another one of the things. It's funny. Longtime viewers of the show might notice my pen is different. I used to have the red one. Well, that pen actually died last night when I was making notes. I was making notes, so now we're onto a new pen. But in my notes, I remember there's another thing, a really bizarre line that Hopper says, where he mentions that he hates sails. I have no idea what that means or what that brings. Does he just mean like he only likes boats that are powered by his precious oil? But he hates sails and he's really mad about it. Which is, again, just a really odd line that I don't know what it means or how it fits in.
You must be right. He hates like wind-powered things.
Yeah.
Fossil fuels.
Even in this world, it's about fossil fuels somehow. Oh, man.
Maybe you can answer this. I'm not too familiar with jet skis and how they work. But can they like dive under the water? Like they can't work when they're underwater, right? That's not like
really mess them up.
That's what I would think. I would think it would get in the engine and stuff. But there's a few times when they're like completely submerged and they just shoot up, which is cool. I mean,
I'll admit that whole trap that they lead is where they're looking and they've actually killed all the people, but they're like one guy's like moving them like with strings, like they're puppets. That's kind of a neat, devious trap. I give them credit for that. See, when they get caught in that trap, that's fine because that could happen. They're out to sea, they're looking, they're wary, but they see this, and then by the time they realize it's a trap, they're already being attacked. Fine. But the idea that afterwards and knowing that they're actively being hunted because of this kid is just like, yeah, the kid's fine. Let's go on a deep sea diving tour. Stupid. Like they can totally get what they deserve when they come back and they steal her and burn everything. It's like, well, you idiots. Maybe you should have realized that you should have left further away. I guess he just thought, oh, she won't shut up about dry land. I'll show you dry land.
Yeah.
In my weird little implausible submarine.
Yeah, I mean,
where you would die of pressure.
Yeah, I don't think she definitely wouldn't have had enough air in that thing to survive that long. I mean, that would fill up with carbon dioxide pretty quickly, right? Just like a little.
And they try to address it because they say that's why they don't take the girl. It's like, well, there's only enough air for one. I'm like, I don't think there's enough air for one. But the pressure also would kill her too. And I accept that the pressure doesn't kill Costner, that he's special because of his gills and stuff, that he can survive pressure and stuff. And that's one of the first things that the old man asks him when he's back at the atoll locked up. He says, how deep can you dive? Which is a legitimate question. Like, yeah, how far can you go before, you have to deal with the water pressure? But
it's also rather.
I like that trap.
It's rather quick for evolution to take place, even though there are some cases that there can be. What is it called when it's really fast? I think Darwin talked about it.
Oh man, I don't.
Most of the time it's thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah,
but
I've read that whole book, but
it's
a long time.
There's one he talks about that can happen like just in one generation.
Wow. Is that real though, or is that just a theory? Because I mean, people talk about the theory of evolution, and they just say it's a theory. Well, no, but parts of our theories is the point now. That's one thing that really gets annoying when people talk. Well, it's a theory; it hasn't been proven. Well, it has. It's just parts of it haven't. But anyway, that's a whole thing we won't get into. But I was going to say the other thing that people misconstrue about evolution is that it's like a straight path. So if Kevin Costner represents people that have like evolved and stuff like that, there are also the people that would have evolved like not as well. There's not just like one way. There's a bunch of, it branches off into a bunch of other things.
You remember the old guy asked him, do they work or are they just vestigial?
Right,
So
which does fit into that.
Yeah, so that's actually kind of cool. I mean, I think that aspect of it's neat.
It at least shows some thought was put into it.
Yeah,
which I can appreciate.
Oh,
but again, this movie relies on Costner, Jean Triplehorn, and then that girl, and I can't stand any of them together.
Annoying. Right, the girl's annoying. Yeah, I'll admit.
I think the girl's annoying. I think. Just the way stuff is written. He's supposed to be so bitter and mean. and the woman is supposed to be so exasperated all the time, and she comes around. I don't think any of their chemistry works. They all just seem terrible together. Watching those scenes were really the ones that would really wipe me out, even though this was the part where they're finally going to give us, slow down the movie, not just be a bunch of explosions, give us some character development. And I found it kind of the most irritating part of the movie.
I agree.
The kid's like drawing with her crayons. He's like, no, that's why he throws her off, by the way. It's because he was drawing with crayons. He's like, I got the boat the way I liked. I'm like, I know he's a bastard, but is he that much of a bastard? It's crayons, for Christ's sake.
That's what I was saying when you got kicked off one time. He's really hard to like. He's the hero, but he's a really unlikable guy just because he treats everyone like shit when he's not trying to, actively kill them or have them killed.
And I'm fine with movies that have anti-heroes. I'm fine with that, but I just feel like, they take it a bit too far in some ways, and Kevin Costner's own idea of how to play it is just ridiculous. I can't stand his monotone delivery, and just never doing anything, and I don't know.
The scenes with the Mariner and Helen alone having a dialogue is almost unwatchable.
Yeah,
it's terrible, and I can just imagine that extended cut has got so much more of that. So it's probably really bad.
Yeah. See, I picture like it's a terrible combination of poor writing and poor acting, like coming together to make something very truly irritating and boring. Because that was really like where I had to take like a long break for the movie. And I've told people this before. I usually like to watch a movie the pure way, which is start to finish, no interruptions, ideally. I mean, sometimes you have to break up movies or things happen, but that always bothers me. This time I did it myself. It was my idea to stop the movie because I was like, I need a break. Like I had to walk away from it and come back to it, honestly, which isn't a good sign. And one of the big sort of revelations, like I said, because for a while, my memories was like, I understand why it's a flawed movie, but it's still enjoyable. But no, I found less and less to enjoy about it this last time I watched it. But I'm trying to be fair, and I'm trying to give credit to things. As we said, some of these sets that they've built are truly impressive. At least you see the money went into something good.
Yeah.
I don't know. As I said, there's nothing wrong with any of the action. None of it really comes. None of it's really particularly bad or particularly good to me, I guess. If you like to see people, pulling levers and spinning things around and swinging on ropes, then this is the movie for you because there's just a ton of that. I mean, there's even a part like where the girl is like actively telling him what to do. She's like, "Pull on that, move that down," and stuff. And I mean, it is kind of cool because you get to see how these things are built and the way the sails go up and just how some of these boats and structures work, which I admit is kind of cool, but at the same time, it's also kind of distracting.
I enjoy it a lot. It's kind of seeing Costner hop around and things pop out and sails get raised on their own, and I don't know, it's kind of cool. But yeah, I can see it running its course rather quickly. The girl Enola, there's one scene at the end when she's talking to the actor Gerald Murphy, when she's like telling oh, he's killed 1,000 kids and he'll kill 1,000 more and he'll kill you. He doesn't care. He's like, she's basically like telling like a myth of him or something. Like she's like narrating, and it's pretty awful.
It's really bad. She's talking over the montage of his infiltration and how of a badass he is. I'm just like, you're just talking out your ass anyway, kid. You don't even like him. At one point, you tell him that you're not scared of him. You also tell him that he's not as tough as he thinks he is. Like, these are words you said to him, and now you're just bluffing to these bad guys, which I get. It's understandable. Well, you're a kid, you're surrounded by that.
And then when he saves her out of the plane that Hopper's about to fly away in, like they embrace, like they love each other and they've known each other for so long.
Yeah, where did this bonding come from?
It's really odd. Then now he's like, I know I wanted to kill you like literally like 5 minutes ago, but like you're pretty cool now, and I really love you.
Because he shows up and Hopper's like, oh, I get it. It's not about her. It's about the map. And he goes, no, she's my friend. And like the girl says, you guys are in trouble. And Hopper goes, smack. That's like the best thing Hopper does in the movie for me is he smacks her. Of course, he doesn't really, but for the purposes of the character, he does, which is great. Very satisfying to see him just turn around and smack her.
Says, oh, you're doing it to save the girl. No, I don't care about dry land. And it's just like, I care about her.
Yeah. Says she's
Like,
my friend.
Since when?
Since when?
But
Yeah, it's like the smokers are really bad. He's like just slightly less bad than them, basically.
it's not even that. It just makes you think that he'll do anything to save his own skin. You know, and I don't know. It's
Well, I mean, he didn't have to go after her. He does.
right.
He does do the hero thing. He goes after her at risk to his own life and stuff. And it is true he doesn't care about dry land because when they get there, he just leaves it.
Yeah, I've got problems with that too.
Which seems completely stupid.
Apparently, he's going out to look for more fish people.
I don't know. I guess that's a possibility. That was never implied. I just thought he just said he just didn't belong here. Like this wasn't the world he knew. It's really weird too. She's like, it's just land sickness. We all have it. I'm like, land sickness?
Yeah. I like that.
The fact that what you're standing on isn't moving around under you is making you sick? Like, the ground is so solid. I can understand it being a strange sensation, but I don't know about land sickness. I don't know. Again, it's all speculative.
We've all got it. We've all got land sickness.
Yeah.
I'm gonna puke because the world is not moving.
I mean, yeah, you have your little artistic license, stuff like that. It's pretty funny at the start of, since it's one of the movies that got me on the water kick in the first place when I was rewatching one of my favorite movies, Life Aquatic. At the very beginning, when they're showing the documentary about how his friend dies, when he comes up, Willem Dafoe's character's just like, oh no, look, he's got the crazy eyes or something, and he's got like really red eyes. He's like, like the idea like he was underwater too long and now he's like nuts. It's kind of funny. Like that's just a made up thing, but it's kind of funny.
He's got like the bends or something.
Yeah, so I guess I can accept land sickness.
This
although it does seem weird.
Tina Majorino, who plays Enola, has actually done a lot of stuff. She's still very, very active. It's a lot of television. I've seen her in a lot of stuff.
I wouldn't recognize her. I mean, I've probably seen her in something sooner at some point along the way, but I wouldn't recognize her.
You seen Napoleon Dynamite?
Yeah.
You know Deb, his like girlfriend?
Yeah, with the weird side ponytail. Is that her?
Yeah.
Huh. She's a wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't even reconcile that. That seems so different. And that's not, I mean, that's a span of like 8 years. It's like 8 or 9 years. Yeah, I can't even reconcile that. That seems like two completely different people.
Because she was born in like 85, I think.
Yeah, she'd be.
Yeah, 85.
Yeah, not that much younger than me.
So.
In her 30s. But yeah, I mean, she's fine. I can't stand the character. I don't blame the actress, but I can't stand the character. And how about in Costner's Rage, when he's mad at them, he gives them haircuts?
Yes. Is she more annoying with cornrows, though?
Yeah, she is. Everybody's more annoying with cornrows. You give anybody cornrows, so...
White girls with cornrows, yeah.
He did the right thing, but you have no idea why. He's just like, I want to kill you with this big knife, but instead I'll just cut your hair, I guess. Because I'm so angry.
You know,
I mean, you've seen these movies where like two people really don't like each other, but then they like just suddenly start to kiss and then they have sex. I guess I'm glad they didn't do that, but their route of going around it was kind of almost just as bad in a way.
Yeah, it's like he didn't have any feelings at all for Helen. He just cared about the girl, like almost like a parental figure,
which was a really fast turnaround.
Very fast, yeah.
At first, he didn't care at all.
You know, Kevin Costner rewrote a lot of this script. Joss Whedon was brought out supposed to be for a week. He stayed for 7 weeks, and he wrote a little short story on it called 7 Weeks in Hell.
Oh man, I'll talk for that.
And he virtually all of his stuff was thrown away because he's not even credited as a writer at all. But wrote for 7 weeks, you know, on set, and at that point, Costner had rewrote most of the script, and it was all off limits. So it was really, his hands were tied. He couldn't really change much. So
here's another problem I have at the very beginning of the movie: is that you get a narration that doesn't it specifically state in the narration that the polar ice caps have melted and the world is flooded. See, they shouldn't have done that
I know.
because then you could just come up with your own idea.
I know.
Because again, I know artistic license, but that's just not how that works. If it wouldn't flood the whole world. It would flood a lot, but only the lowlands would be
Mhm.
affected. There would still be plenty of
Yeah.
inland. And now, if we say, let's pretend there was an ice age, there was way more ice. If there was enough ice on the Earth so that if it melted, it would flood the world, that would be the end of saltwater.
Right.
What would happen is everything would become freshwater, and all saltwater sea life would die off. But this is clearly a saltwater world, so again, I wouldn't have a problem with it. It just has that stupid narration saying that this is how it happened.
It's not enough. Even if the polar ice caps melted, it wouldn't turn the entire Earth to water, right?
Right. Only
Yeah.
lowlands would be affected. Like pretty much any place that's like a couple hundred miles inland would be fine.
Yeah.
It would seriously affect the Earth, of course, but it
Right.
would cover the whole thing. And as I said, if there was enough ice to make all the land go away, then we wouldn't have salt water. The world would be converted to fresh water.
That's one of the things they changed in the Nomad cut. I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but that's a fan edit that
Yeah,
takes
you
aspects.
told me Ulysses cut was what you said.
What did I say? Nomad? Yeah, I meant Ulysses. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Uh,
sure.
but it's a fan edit that takes aspects of the extended cut and the original theatrical, and it's basically the original theatrical with a few tweaks, and it's not edited, so all of the language and the nudity is put back into it. But that's one of the things that's not in that. There is no narration there at the beginning, which I mean I like it being being open to
Right,
interpretations.
exactly. Then you don't have to say, "Oh, this couldn't happen," because you don't know. Maybe something happened.
The
But when they give a specific reason, and then, I mean, again, it's a fantasy movie. I get it, but still, for people like us that like think about it sometimes, like you're giving a specific reason that actually wouldn't do that.
Well, I think in Peter Rader's original script, it was another moon that caused it. Another moon went to into our orbit and threw the tides off. Which I don't exactly know why that would cause that, but kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound like this cut would improve the movie. It sounds kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, I actually tried to watch it today and wound up infecting my computer with quite a few viruses, so I wasn't able to
Yeah, it's
get
hard tracking
very
that stuff
far into
down.
that. So and plus it was dubbed in Russian.
Mm.
Well, very poorly, I'll add, because it would say the English track and then it would just talk Russian on top of that. So it was
Not even really
very,
a dub.
no. So yeah, very, very, very poor.
Yeah, so I'm looking out at the inflation. If Waterworld was made today, the budget would have been $270 million.
So that's not that bad. I mean, really.
I mean, it's up there.
Sure. But I mean, we've got films teetering on $500 million now, don't we?
No, we've only had three break 300 million.
Oh, three. Okay. Well, I
One
don't
quite
think we're.
one quite recently, which was Justice League, which I haven't seen yet, but it doesn't look good.
Doesn't it just seem ridiculous?
No, I mean, I since I hated the Batman versus Superman movie so much, and this is directly in the same universe, there's no way I can fathom, nice pun there, that I would be able to like this movie. I mean, I will watch it out of morbid curiosity and stuff, but I mean, every time I see the previews for it or the little clips and stuff, it's just this. They're always in this really dark world, like it's so opposite the Marvel stuff, which I guess is good. Like, try to go do something different, but it just looks so dark and ugly. Plus, I don't like those casting decisions. Like, I'm not even a fan of the Flash. The Flash is so low on characters I give a damn about, and
Mhm.
even I don't like this idiot playing the Flash. But anyway,
I'm not even sure who it is. I haven't seen it either. It's after Batman versus Superman, I was pretty much out. I haven't seen any DC movies
yeah.
since. It's
No, I did see. I did eventually because it showed up on TV. See Suicide Squad, and
I did see that one.
it was about as bad as I expected it to be.
It's still better than Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, I would say that's true, but
But
only because it's just well, yeah, it's a whole thing. But
your buddy David Ayer directed that one.
yeah, don't like him. But getting back to this movie, like I said, it's just I'm just sort of going back and forth between the things that I can praise and the things I can criticize and stuff. But just so much, it just doesn't deliver on. One is like that guy Nord. who's like the very first of the smokers he like meets before all the others show up, and he has like this sort of like kind of rivalry with. Like their end confrontation is like so unsatisfying. Nord gets the drop on him with his gun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Oh, his gun jams twice, in fact, and then Costner calmly levels his gun and shoots him. Wow, that was worth waiting 2 hours for. You couldn't even have like a half-assed fist fight. But anyway, and getting to the very end, they had to like again they almost wipe away all the good action they do because a lot of the action is solid, good stuff happening, and then they almost wipe it all away with the very end with the whole bungee thing.
Yeah.
Which belongs in like a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yep.
Honestly, they're up like in the balloon. The kid has Dennis Hopper makes a perfect shot. The kid falls into the water. Now he and two other idiots are converging on her with jet skis from different directions. Costner just ties some bungee to his foot, jumps off, and tells him to tie it. And of course, it has just the perfect amount for him to get right to where the water is, grab her, and pull her up. And even if we let that aside and say, of course, say that that's fine, the three idiots are all looking up and they all smash, they all blow up. It's so stupid. So stupid. What a terrible.
That's like the third time that Dennis Hopper should have died there at the end.
Yeah, well, I guess he finally does there. And in such a stupid way. As I said, a lot of the action is solid and there's nothing wrong with it. You know, there's shooting and explosions and jumping and swinging, and I'm fine with a lot of it. I don't think anybody's particularly memorable, but none of it's really stupid. And then like they end with something really stupid, which I think really undercuts the positive stuff they did. So, man.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that ending is pretty weak.
It'd be so hilarious if he just jumped and like it was too long and he just went right down into the water, right past the kid.
Well, I mean, he's a fish, right? Like, I mean, okay, yeah, whatever. He's just like a superhuman person. So.
Oh yeah, he's got webbed feet too. We forgot to point out. In addition to his gills, he's got webbed feet.
Yeah, Nord wanted his boots. That was the whole joke at the beginning, which they actually said maybe the Mariner, maybe he's a smoker spy, but isn't Nord a smoker spy?
Like, yeah, that's exactly what Nord is.
I mean, and then
he was there infiltrating for them, scouting or whatever.
Steals his boots.
Yeah, that's right. Joss Whedon was going to do some last-minute script rewrites to try to punch it up, I guess, or save it.
The David Thwowy, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Thwowy.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Wrote, and he added a lot of the Mad Max type stuff, the Road Warrior type stuff to the film, which is really what I like the most about it. I think, like, I mean, I love Road Warrior, man, and I love.
I love Road Runner too, and I will say that maybe I'm being a bit unfair because I talk about like some of the goofiness in this. It's not like Road Warrior didn't have like some goofy stuff, like the way the guys looked and everything. So I realize maybe I'm being a bit of a hypocrite here because it's not like everything about Road Warrior was super played straight, super serious. It wasn't, you know, so it just comes down to preference, I guess. So I don't want to criticize this for doing things that was also in Road Warrior. All I can say is for whatever reason, I felt like it worked in Road Warrior. It didn't work so much here. But
well, ripped it off. Obviously, I mean, it was intentional rip off of Road Warrior because it was popular around this period of time. So.
Yeah, I mean, and I can't even get too mad at that because pretty much anything post-apocalyptic owes something to Road Warrior at this point. I mean, it's more if something doesn't, then it's different. It's it's not the norm.
Sure.
When you've got these I guess there's only so many ways to play apocalyptic sort of wasteland and stuff because it's true you have good people and bad people and the drifters caught in between and the roving groups with their weird and. Suddenly now clothing is about fashion. It's all about function or also being scary if you want to be a bad guy and stuff. So it does make sense on a certain level.
Well, it's an entire subgenre. I mean, they're still making these type films.
Sure, and it's a subgenre I enjoy a lot.
Yeah. No reason it should cost $200 million to do it though, or whatever that you gave me the inflated budget.
About 270 now. I mean, again, I would accept that it would be on the more expensive side because of the water angle. Water does
right. That's exactly what it was.
Water does bring that up, as we said, but also as we said, some of the problems they encountered, they could have just avoided if they timed it better and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, there's various different ways of doing it. This would fit under, I suppose, the closest is an environmental disaster. Because you got aliens, you got nuclear war. This is like environmental disaster of some point. And every once in a while, you've got failure of modern technology or pandemic, where people just die from a disease or something like that. And this leaves it mostly open-ended about all that other stuff, but it's very clearly environmental disaster because they talk about the polar ice caps melting and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But,
how'd you like the Universal logo that they used to kind of show what happened?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Mm-hmm.
The logo's already there. It's a neat way of integrating it into the story. I got no issue with that. It's kind of clever. I'll give it some credit. It's kind of a cool thing to do. It's a neat little trick or whatever you want to call it. I'm just trying to think of other movies that fit into this sort of version of that. I don't know. I mean, The Day After Tomorrow is kind of one, but that's not the post-apocalypse. That is the apocalypse as it happens.
Right.
Type thing is the only. I saw that in theater.
Yeah, I did too, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm not a fan. It's funny. I'm a big fan of post-apocalyptic stuff, but I don't like disaster movies at all.
Yeah, me either. Yeah, for the most part, there are a few I'm okay with.
I mean, I guess a couple of the classics. I like the original Poseidon Adventure. That's kind of a cool disaster movie. But it's never been a genre I've been into.
I like nuclear fallout type movies usually, like nuclear wasteland type movies.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. There's a lot, and there's one I like that's more like a weird phenomena. It's this movie. I think it's a New Zealand movie called The Quiet Earth.
I believe I've seen that.
You should track that down. It's just basically about how like this weird I can't even remember. It's like this comet passes over Earth. Anyway, something happens that makes like almost everybody on Earth just like disappear, and there's only very few people left. It's like a New Zealand movie, and it's just sort of about a few of the survivors coming together.
Cool. Yeah, I'll check that
One
out.
of the very few movies you'll see where you'll get to like see somebody of like who's of indigenous New Zealand ethnicity, which is kind of cool because he's one of the main characters. So basically three characters. There's a man, a woman, and then that guy.
Oh,
it's a movie from the 80s called The Quiet Earth.
Is he an Aboriginal person?
Yeah, that's what I meant by indigenous. Aboriginal, yeah.
Is that the correct terminology?
I believe so. I think you would say he was Aboriginal, Aborigine, or something like that.
Okay.
If not, we apologize, but I mean, I know you use that for Australia.
If it was politically correct or not.
You say for Australia, I guess it's New Zealand too, although we do obviously there's a difference. But anyway, it's a neat little movie. Came out in '86, I think. It's fairly short. I haven't seen too many New Zealand movies. Mm-hmm. I can pump it up a little bit by putting the works of Peter Jackson on there because obviously the Lord of the Rings movies are New Zealand movies. But The Quiet Earth is one of them, and it's quite good. It's it's nothing special. It's kind of like these movies we talk about. It's got a fairly low budget. It doesn't have a lot going on in it, but it's a nice little movie. It really does fit The Quiet Earth because that's really what's going on here. It is very quiet, but it's something, just some sort of like red light flashes or something, and some scientist actually observes it. But then when he comes out, like everybody's gone. But it's weird because everybody's gone. Like not everybody's dead. People just disappear. So it's not like a world full of like dead people or death. They're just gone. But it's an interesting little movie, especially the first part because it's one of the first times I assume they did this with that TV show that has Will Forte, which is funny because it's called The Last Man on Earth and there's like a cast of like 15 people on it as far as I can tell. But
yeah,
I assume the first episode is him just realizing he can do whatever he wants, and that's kind of what goes on here. Like, so a lot of like the first like half hour of the movie is this guy just realizing he can sort of do whatever he wants, and he just sort of goes around. And it's funny too because it really does sort of show how he gets fairly eccentric fairly quickly. Some of the stuff he does that's pretty funny. At one point, he's surrounded by all these. He's got all these like cardboard cutouts of famous people that he's surrounded by, and he has like a little party with them and stuff. Anyway, it's a neat movie. I would totally It's actually not really. It's not really similar to this movie at all, except that you could put it in the post-apocalyptic thing. But I would recommend it. I think you'd enjoy it.
I will check it out. Man, if I thought I was the last person on Earth, like I would get ridiculous probably within the day. Like it would be.
Yeah, it wouldn't take me long.
Take me like 2 hours, and I would be like going ape shit. Why not?
Yeah.
Do all the things I've always wanted to do.
I'd be like on top of the CN Tower, like dropping stuff off.
Yeah, taking a shit off of there.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was thinking Snowpiercer. I don't know if you've seen that one.
It's still on my list. It's right there on my Netflix thing to watch, and I just haven't gotten around to it for whatever reason. I'm sure I'd like it. It seems pretty cool.
It's like climate change is kind of one reason why it's post-apocalyptic.
Right.
They're all on this train because of, they're basically the only people left alive.
Which I think is a really neat idea. Like,
yeah.
The idea that like all that's left of humanity is on a constantly moving train. Like that's a bit different from the others.
I almost feel like it would have been better if it was made in South Korea.
Yeah, I know it's a South Korean director. He's done quite a lot of stuff that I know.
Chris Evans is in it, and you don't have to have Chris Evans and everything.
No, you do not.
I don't dislike the guy at all, but
we're just getting overwhelmed with these Chris's. Chris Evans and Chris Pratt and Chris Pine. And they're all, I will have to say, like, I put it up on our Twitter just because it showed up in my feed. Somebody had written an article about a film we covered last year in New Hollywood, the William Friedkin film Sorcerer. So I just thought, hey, here's something that can plug our show a little bit if anyone checks it out. So I mentioned that we covered Sorcerer. But the article's pretty good because one of the things they point out is like Roy Scheider as like an actor, a leading man in the 70s. And it's just like, it's true that we don't really have like those sorts of leading men anymore. Because, there's nothing really like Roy Scheider. Or, he's just sort of like a guy, which is kind of what we need. I understand why like good, like handsome looking men and stuff like that are leading men and you need that. But you still Scheider. And it seems like we don't really have them anymore. And now those roles do go to like a smiling Chris Pine and people with perfect cheekbones.
Yep.
And stuff. Because I really appreciate the article. And we even said in our episode on that movie that maybe Roy Scheider wasn't exactly right for the role. That wasn't who they wanted originally, but he's doing his best. But one thing I give it is, given that it's about like 4 desperate men that have all done bad things, it works out. But now if we're going to make a movie about 4 desperate men that have all done things, they're all of a certain aesthetic, how they look. They're all, well chiseled.
Yeah, they're all going to fill out a t-shirt nicely, right?
Yeah, and stuff like that, and have a nice smile and teeth and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, look at Dustin Hoffman. Look at Richard Dreyfuss. These guys are. I mean, the ladies aren't knocking the door down to get to them. And
it was good because it brought a certain reality to the movies they did.
It's based on their acting, not on their looks, which is.
And nowadays, that's
it's kind of a shame.
Because nowadays, like, I don't even necessarily think that they're bad actors, but it is true. Like, just because you're a decent actor, should you be an awesome Hollywood star because you're a decent actor, but you're also really good looking? But that's a whole other thing.
Those 3 you mentioned are kind of. I think they're all good actors. I mean, in their own right. I've seen them all do
Chris Evans, Chris Pine.
Yeah, non-superhero shit, and they do a good job with it. These guys all have personal trainers. It's their job. I totally get it. They've got to be chiseled, beefed up dudes because it's what they do.
Yeah.
But I've seen them play roles that aren't that, and they do a good job with it.
I agree. But still, there are sometimes when you have those everyman characters where just sort of like, really, this guy? We've all seen it.
And you can't really say it's been the same for women because it was the same for women even back then. There was no like really homely women that got good jobs.
Oh, sure, it's a lot worse for women.
Yeah.
Then and now, like when I talk about roles for men and stuff like that, it's worse with women. Definitely, it's definitely worse with women. Like for instance, we'll talk about. A lot of character actors we like. Well, there's almost no such thing as a female character actor. Because usually character actor means, not a leading type and probably not great looking, but able to deliver, solid performances in a wide variety of roles. Obviously, there are women that are capable of doing that, but we don't get to see it because of the way the system works. Because it's like, we no women, women are there to like to be pretty. If they can act, that's great, but that comes second.
Yeah. I think once they get to a certain age, then they can be a character actor, or they just completely retire altogether. Like I think of like Lynn Shay or someone, who you see in a lot of things, but generally not the lead, with the exception of some of these new horror movies that have come out. But
and probably doesn't get the same credit like a man that does those roles does. I would assume.
But I mean, like, let's say, like, look, Sissy Spacek, right? Like, she played the original Carrie, right?
Right.
And then you've got Chloe Grace Moretz playing her in the remake.
Like, which is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Like, why would she be tormented?
She would be the girl making fun of someone else. Like, you know.
She would not be the tormented outsider.
Like, she's a beautiful woman. I mean, why would she be?
Yeah. Kids are every bit as, superficial as we are. And it's some of it is sort of born, like even little kids. I mean, think of like the pretty girls you went to school with. They all hung out together. Right? All the pretty girls I knew basically hung out together, and the less pretty girls and the ugly girls were in their own groups. Like, that was their own idea. That wasn't men doing it to them, or boys.
Right.
That was how the girls made their friendships. It was very rare to see like a really pretty girl with a really not pretty girl in a like good friendship or in the same social circle.
Well, I mean, I think we grew up in a world where Rachel Lee Cook is the ugly girl in the class,
Yeah. It's
like, no. So
yeah, putting glasses on her really.
Yeah,
it's funny. This has nothing to do with that, but I just rewatched Wonder Woman. It was the first time I saw it since the theater. It's pretty good. I don't love it. It's definitely better than the other DC movies, but that is one of the funnier moments in it, where she's in London and she's in her crazy battle costume, and they're like, "We need to get you to like ordinary women clothes so you don't stand out and stuff." And they're trying to put on different outfits on her and stuff like that. And the Chris in that movie, the designated Chris, I'm not sure which Chris that is, but he's one of them. That is Chris Pine, I think. I think that is Chris Pine. That designated Chris then puts like glasses on her, and like his secretary there with him goes, "Spectacles? Really?" And suddenly she's not the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. Which is kind of true. I mean, it's fucking Wonder Woman. It's Gal Gadot. It was a pretty good Wonder Woman. I give her credit.
Yeah, she's like a very model-looking woman. Like, she walks in a room, and you're like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, and that is Wonder Woman. I mean, for better or for worse, that is Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is tall and statuesque as fuck.
Yeah,
because she's supposed to be like sort of based on like the ancient Greek stuff and stuff like that. So, good casting there, and plus she has a good accent. All you need is a foreign accent, because Wonder Woman, well, maybe she's from here, maybe she's from there, she's from a fake island. As long as she has an accent that sounds foreign, that's good. So the Israeli accent she has works fine.
Yeah, she's 5'10", so I guess she gets there.
Yeah, she's taller than me. So anyway, the first movie I ever saw her in that I kind of knew who she was a pretty stupid movie. Might have been called Keeping Up with the Joneses, the movie about how I think it's Zach Galifianakis. It's like Zach Galifianakis and his wife. They have new neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
And the new neighbors are this couple played by Gal Gadot and John Hamm.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
And, and they both turn out to be like crazy, awesome spies. But there's this scene, but the other thing is, like, there's a scene, like, where the two women are out shopping together or something like that, and they're trying on, like, underwear or bras or something like that. And, like, Gal Gadot just towers over. I don't know who the other actor is, but she's like a whole like foot over this other actress. It's pretty funny.
She probably is a foot taller than her. That's Isla Fisher.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Isla Fisher. Yeah, she just towers over it. It's a kind of funny scene because she's trying to tell her. She's like, "Oh, you would look good in this. You're an attractive woman," and she's just like way over her. It's funny. It's an okay movie for what it is, but yeah. Honestly, when Gal Gadot was like first announced as Wonder Woman, I was like, I don't know who that is. Like, I did not know. I'd never seen the movies that she was in. I know she rose to fame in the what is it, Fast and Furious movies?
Yeah.
And yeah,
I didn't even know her name. I knew that she was in those movies. I didn't know her name until recently.
No, I only saw the very early Fast and the Furiouses, and the only girl I remember was my old crush, Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah, she was in the first one.
He brought her back at some point, but
And then
again, I don't know.
6, she came back. Oh no, at 5. She was in the first Fast and the Furious, and then Fast 5.
And there was a female character they honestly killed off and then brought back to life. They really did do that. That might even be her.
I think it was Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah, I think it was her. But yeah, I never saw any of the way.
She came back with amnesia or some shit, and they had to like
wow
play that up for a whole movie.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's when Vin Diesel was walking around talking about family. Family, we're all family. And then what's his name?
Yeah, well, that's how they all are now. Yeah, it's just like I don't have friends, I have family. There's nothing wrong with those movies. They are just sort of like the Hollywood movie. They get the people they want. You got the big tough guys. You got the tits in the ass, and you got the fast cars. I mean, I get it. There's nothing wrong with that. Movies have that.
That's the movie that gets greenlit on $200 million day one.
Oh yeah, day one.
Because you know it's going to make it back, or the producers know it's going to make it back.
Exactly. Especially nowadays because it's such a long-running series.
Yeah, they're on.
It's got that built into it.
You know,
surprisingly, it's I think only one of those is on the list of expensive movies. I had the list up. I'll try to find it again.
Which is kind of surprising considering what they gross.
As I said, I was surprised that only one of the Harry Potters was, and it's the 6th one. I figured it would have been one of the last 2, if not both of them, but it was the 6th one. That was actually on there. That would be a Half-Blood Prince. But let me look at the list again here. Yeah, you have a few of the Transformers movies, the Hobbit movies, blah blah blah. Where is it? Amazing Spider-Man goes. Be higher up than I thought. Okay, yeah, the very latest one, the only one that's on the list. It's called The Fate of the Furious. I guess it's the latest one. It came out in 2017. $250 was its budget.
It's not too ridiculous, I guess.
Well, what's interesting is like I guess none of the others were all for $200 million. That's what surprises me.
That may have just all gone to like salaries of these people, man.
I mean, they do really big, epic stunts.
Yeah,
it must cost a lot, and they film in like they film in exotic locations. I mean, in one of them, I never saw the whole movie, but one of them, a big part of it takes place like in like Brazil. And the whole end scene is just them tearing up the streets of this Brazilian city. So that must have cost a goddamn fortune. But again, the movie did very well, so it worked out.
Is that when they're pulling the safes in the car?
Yeah, that's it. See,
that's pretty cool scene.
Yeah. I didn't see the movie, but I saw that scene. But yeah, I give that credit. It's pretty neat. We keep coming up with different ways to make car chases and stuff different. Although again, they still don't film car chases the way I like to see them filmed. Which is why I was so happy with Baby Driver. Baby Driver films car chases the way I like to see them. I need to watch that again. That's finally on my TMN here, so I saw that in theaters twice. That's like the first movie I saw twice in the theater in a long time. I saw that back in June twice. Really, really loved it.
Yeah, that was a great movie. I just saw it maybe last month.
So. I mean, I went into it knowing I would like it. I already knew I like Edgar Wright and stuff, but it did not disappoint. I really relate to the character too. I like the character a lot because I'm a lot like that with music. I think I said this before on other shows and stuff, but the best part of the movie for me is like the second like robbery or whatever like that. And he's got the song queued up, but then they have and it's funny too because they have that mix up about the masks, where they're talking about the Halloween masks, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then like after they just get through that, they're about to go, and he goes, "Wait," and they're like, "What?" He's like, "I got to start the song over."
Yeah,
that is absolutely what I would have done in that situation.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Edgar Wright did so good with an action movie like that.
I'm not, because he actually does some really good action in Hot Fuzz.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of his movies have good action sequences. Just that movie is start to finish action, Mm-hmm. And fucking John Hamm's in that one again. John Hamm's in like every movie I watch.
I love him in that one.
Yeah, he's a very unlikable asshole, but
well, I mean, the point is he starts out as sort of a nice guy, then you find out, he's not nice at all, Well, like he's not like a classic guy to me, but I mean, I liked him.
They found out his name was Jason. He was a stockbroker. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I didn't remember the name, but yeah, because it was Buddy. Yeah, they all have names. I don't know who his girlfriend is, but oh my god, she was hot.
Dude, she is. she plays the vampire in From Dusk Till Dawn, the series. Yes.
Okay.
She's very, very attractive.
Because I'll say something about 2017, like on the shallow end of things. It's like I discovered several actresses of just astonishing beauty.
I know the other one you're going to mention. Yeah.
It's Hollywood. It's full of beautiful women, but I just mean, I hate to say it, but after a while you got to get used to them. It doesn't mean they're any less beautiful, but I just mean, yeah. But yeah, the other one for me was in Blade Runner 2049. This Cuban actress.
Is she Cuban?
She just knocked. Yep, she's Cuban, as it turned out. I looked her up immediately. But man, she knocked my socks off. I mean, the acting too, but it just mean if I can just be a guy here for a second. I was like, wow. Like, my jaw just dropped by her beauty.
I remember her from that Keanu Reeves movie, Knock Knock. So, yeah.
I didn't see it, but I've heard it's exceptionally bad.
If you're a fan of her, I would watch it.
Yeah, I think you told me. So I'll have to slot that in.
Yeah. I think what's his name? Rodriguez. Robert Rodriguez. I think discovered her, the other girl in Mexico.
Nice.
And, put her in his new From Dusk Till Dawn show, which ran like 4 seasons or something. And
I watched like the very first episode of it. And it was good because it was a lot like their first movie, because they kind of recreate some of the stuff from the first movie. But I hear it really veers off in a direction.
It's kind of like one of those shows I want to like more than I do, and it really just wasn't worth my time anymore. So I think I watched maybe to the 3rd season or so and gave up.
Let's see.
They change a lot of things too, which I guess is good. I mean, you don't want to just rehash the same thing that you already did, but the whole aspect of the vampires being like snakes is kind of odd to me.
Yeah.
They have the retractable fangs like snakes, and they actually have scales like snakes when they fully vamp out. Like she plays the Selma Hayek character from the movie Santiago.
Yeah.
Or wait, no, Santanico Pandemonium.
Don't know it.
Isa Gonzalez.
Okay. Anyway, she's super hot. It's the only point I was making. But yeah, super hot.
Oh, that's pretty much all she's done.
I have to say, the buddy character is something I can imagine emulating too. He was this stockbroker with a wife and kids that just like met her. She was like a stripper or something like that, and he's just like, let's run away together and be badass criminals. Like, that sounds good to me. In a fantasy way, of course.
Sure.
Because I mean, he really is the whole way. Like, he doesn't mind killing people, as you get to find out. Spoilers.
Yeah.
But anyway, circling back to this movie, I mean, as soon as we thought about doing water, this came up for the obvious reasons. We sort of tackled the kind of subject of a flop a bit before in different ways. Heaven's Gate being obviously the big example, because that's probably the biggest example there is. Except with Heaven's Gate, I think the conclusion I sort of arrived at was that there was definitely a good movie in there. They just went overboard with too many things. Whereas with this one, I just, again, I can find things to like about it, but it's not enough. Like, most of it just bores me or annoys me. I don't like Kevin Costner, and he's obviously the main character, Even the way he looks. I don't like how he physically looks. I was like, put another man in that role, because he's not right for it. He does not look like the person you're trying to say. So even on the most basic of levels, I don't like him in ways, he and Helen just bicker and with each other, and then eventually they just sort of start to like each other for no reason. As you said, the girl's one of many annoying like kids in these movies. Oh, he's coming for you. He'll kill you. He's killed 1 million men. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not mad at Dennis Hopper because he's doing what he does. I just think the movie shouldn't have done that. I just felt like they were taking the easy route by saying, yeah, okay, Dennis Hopper will be the leader of this crew of guys. Like, I was like, no, like, you could have made it scary or serious, and you just decided not to. But the action is pulled off pretty well, although it's too bad, again, as we said, that end scene is cartoony and ridiculous, because there is good action in there. It is neat when shows sort of how some of the stuff works, how his boat transforms and stuff like that. Time and effort was put into a lot of this stuff, and some of it does show. Shooting on the open water is ballsy and expensive, and
Stupid.
It produced mixed results. I can't even give Costner credit for hardly anything he does, because he doesn't do any of his own stunts. A well-known surfer did his stunts.
Have you heard of that guy before? That surfer?
Yeah, I heard of him. Actually, he was in the Point Break remake, which I saw, which is a terrible movie, but the stunts are good. Like, you can really appreciate how good the stunts are because they're legit. But
because they're real.
Yeah. But the movie's just, like nothing. Like the characters, the story, none of it matters. But very well done stunts. But I don't think he doesn't really do any big stunts in that one because he's old. But I think it's just more of a tribute that they have him in there. But yeah, he was a big deal in like I guess the 80s and 90s in the world of surfing.
Right.
Laird Hamilton.
I'm not a big surfer guy, but I have heard that name before.
Yeah. But in the 80s and 90s, he was, I guess, if you were into surfing, he was one of the big names out there who'd done a lot of cool stuff. But trying to see, I know he's popped up in a few other films, although I don't really.
He's probably done stunts on other films.
Not as much as you think, though.
Really,
that's kind of how it is. Because that's what I looked into. I was trying to see if he'd done more, but I guess not. But yeah, he's the main stunt double for Costner in those scenes for pretty much any time that involves water, which is almost all of them. So yeah,
well, Kevin Costner almost died. He got like tangled up in the ropes when he was on the boat, and some sort of a squall hit, and he almost died. I think a lot of people almost died on the set of this film. A lot of people got stung by jellyfish.
Maybe some of the money went into lawsuits.
Possibly.
Maybe that's some of your budget.
And one guy got, I forget whatever it is you call it when you come back up too quickly, some sort of...
that is the bend, isn't it? Isn't that the bend?
Maybe that's just not the name they use, but he got some sort of really... I mean, you could die from it, but his wasn't that bad, apparently, and he came back to set a couple days later. He recovered strangely quick.
Even away from the shooting of this movie, there were problems, because originally they had a different guy to do the music, the score.
Yeah.
And they fired him and replaced him.
I
like what it says here, too. Contrasting the film's futuristic and adventurous tone. I think that would have been better, because I'll just say I think that the score of this is over the top and simplistic. Like, every time, like, I don't know, again, it felt almost sort of a cartoony aspect. Every time it's supposed to be adventurous, it just kicked up, and every time it's supposed to be scary, like, it was so on the nose, it bothered me. Honestly.
I don't disagree. But that's what Costner wanted.
Oh, I know, because he wanted this was his big adventure thing. I guess because he'd done his sentimental movie. But then again, no, he'd already done adventure because he did fucking Robin Hood. But anyway,
I feel like the majority of things wrong with this movie are directly because of him. His choices, his mistakes.
Yeah, it was him that rejected the score.
Yeah.
Like, that
too
was his
ethnic.
decision, not somebody else's. Too ethnic.
I'd love to hear some of that, which I don't think it's available.
That really
anywhere.
sounds great. That really sounds great out of context. Like, Costner's like, "This is a future world where only the whites have survived."
I wonder what it was.
The Asians want us to breed with them.
Some sort of didgeridoos or some shit in the background. I mean, what could it have possibly been? What?
Well, what's funny is, this is hilarious. I wish I could find a link to the article. It's super old though. Because, okay, so let's go back a lot of years. Let's go back to 2004, and the movie Troy came out.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Troy. It had its problems, but I liked it. But I had one really lingering sort of thought coming out of the movie about the music. And then, like, within days of seeing it, I found, like, just randomly online a whole article written about it. And that is, what is that whole thing when you have, like, foreign or ancient world movies where the score just turns into some woman in some sort of Arabic style language, just going, yeah, yeah, like that's in so many movies just to make it sound foreign or ancient and stuff. And I'm betting probably some of that was in this movie because that was a thing that's been around. But you know what I mean? Especially if you watch Troy, like every scene of Troy is basically like almost no music, but just like a lone woman's voice, like, you know, uh, cutting through the silence with some sort of like wailing, some sort of like, you know, wailing thing in a language we don't understand. Like that's always ancient world or, you know, far away place, and it's in so many movies that it just sounds the same in every one. And I have a feeling that maybe you had some of that in this movie because that's definitely when I think of like people saying like too ethnic, that's what I think of. Is the lone foreign woman in some
it
language.
shows like Egypt or somewhere in the Middle East, and
yeah,
you just hear that hit in the back.
yeah.
I could totally imagine that.
It's always some long sort of mournful wailing type thing. You know, this is serious and far away and possibly scary type thing. Like you never hear like a very different variation on it either. Like, you know, something that's maybe more about love or happiness, even though those exist. Those aren't in those movies. It's almost like it's just like a stock sound that they can just pull out of the old library there. You know, like just like where they pull off the sound effects and stuff like that.
Did you see World War Z? Any chance?
Yeah, I hated it. I know our friend Rambo Raff is a big fan of that movie. I hated it. I didn't like any of it, man. Yeah, it had a lot of that, I bet. I already forget most of it.
I hate quite a bit of it. There are a few little pieces I like, but that movie was a mess too.
I don't like the movie. I love how it doesn't even end. It just stops. It doesn't even have an ending. It just stops.
Was it meant to have a sequel? I don't know.
I have no idea, man.
That's another one that's just like
it
was Brad Pitt's production company and Leonardo DiCaprio's production company fighting over that script. And
because that was one you heard about for years before it ever came out.
Yeah,
I heard of that at least like 3 or 4 years before it came out, of them making a movie. And then when it came out, it was just like that's another one of those ones that a lot of people think is like misunderstood though. But I don't know. I don't want to watch it again.
No, me either. Really, it's a lot of the CGI, like weird looking creature zombies crawling up things. I don't.
No.
Anyway, it's me bitching about CGI again.
Yeah.
But no, I totally agree.
The other day, what was I watching? I was watching some movie that I know that you like from the 90s. Oh, no, it's funny. Yeah, I remember we were talking about and I like it too, even though it's kind of, I can't really say what's good about it, but I just sort of like it, and that is Event Horizon. But I was just thinking, doesn't the CG really bother you? That's like 1997 CG in Event Horizon. I figured that would really bother you.
There's some in there.
It's not good.
Yeah. That's one of the worst times in cinema for CGI right there.
Oh yeah,
like,
sure.
Which is why stuff like Jurassic Park like just blows me away. It still looks amazing.
Yeah.
Still.
And it's older because they knew how to do it right. They knew how to mix it in with the other effects and make it look good.
I think whenever you combine it with practical effects, it's definitely a better way to go. It looks good.
Just rewatched Jurassic Park as for our part 2 of our Spielberg thing later in the week with the other show, but you know, always remain one of my favorite movies. When I went to see Black Panther over the weekend, I saw a preview for Jurassic World 2. I was just like, I hate seeing all these sequels to movies that I love. I mean, I know they shouldn't matter, but it just bothers me.
It's going to be more of the same. I mean, did you like Jurassic World at all?
What's funny is I kind of liked it when I first saw it, but then the more I thought about it, the more I thought it was stupid. Then I rewatched and I was like, yep, this is stupid.
I mean, I've seen it a few times, like on television, and it's just like everything else. They're totally just like harping on the original film, just like rehashing it in a different way. You know, it's
funny. Like you talk about one of the great things about Jurassic Park is like the awe and wonder. Well, now it's just so watered down. Like who cares? So now they're saying in this world, Jurassic Park happened. That happened. Then Jurassic World happened, which is completely different from the book. The book could have been a great movie because the one time Michael Crichton actually wrote a sequel, because you know there was just so much pressure on him to write a sequel, he put his all into it. The Lost World is almost as good as Jurassic Park. It's that good, but they throw the book out the window for the movie. They take like 2 things from it, like the whole thing where the trailer's going over the cliff, like that's in the book, and that's about it. And but anyway, so then they're saying, okay, now the island is completely left alone. John Hammond told everybody leave the island alone. But then a plane crashes for the third one, and Grant has to go back. Now they're saying Jurassic World happened, where they did make the park, and now they're saying the same thing happened, and now what is it? They have to go in and protect the animals. It's gonna like blow up or something.
Is that what the new one's gonna be?
Well, it seems to be something like the island is really in trouble. Like the whole that preview ends with a big stampede of them like falling off a cliff into the ocean, as like stuff like crumbles behind them. It looks like the whole island's gonna like implode or something. I don't know. So yeah, by this point, like, there's dinosaurs. Who gives a damn? There's no wonder and majesty here. It's they just squeezed everything out of it, and it's just dinosaurs. Who gives a fuck? Oh look. The T-Rex is fighting a Carnotaurus with big horns on his head. Like no one cares anymore. The wonder is gone. It's too bad because I can still watch the original and feel the wonder. And I mean, that's just how it has to go with a lot of these movies where I just have to pretend the sequels don't exist. Like The Crow. I love The Crow. There are no sequels to The Crow. There were never, ever any sequels to The Crow. They never happened. And I just have to live my life that way.
I mean, I'll go see it. I mean, I enjoy Jurassic World in the theater, but I don't know. I guess just for the experience, it doesn't hold up though. With multiple viewings, I don't think it's the same stuff people are saying about the new Star Wars film. It's how I feel about Jurassic World.
Yeah, I think so too.
Not nearly as strongly as they feel, but
no.
Yeah. Back to Waterworld. I feel the same way you do about most of that stuff. I like the Dennis Hopper being hammy. Obviously someone gave him that direction. But, yeah, man, I don't know what it is about Kevin Costner. I've never really liked him either. And it's kind of odd because he was such a massive actor around, the 90s. Like the entire 90s, he was huge. Probably like the number one actor.
One of the bigger oddities for me is how much I love Prince of Thieves, even though he's no good in it at all.
Yeah.
And he's the main character, for God's sake. And he's no good. I guess it's because everybody else I think is really good. I mean, the movie's full of all sorts of flaws and things that you would think somebody like me would be all over, but I'm not. It just has some sort of quality, some sort of thing that runs through it that I really like about it. Some of it is tied up in my age and some of my fond memories of it, for sure. But, I mean, I just find a lot to like about it. And what's funny, though, is, like, he's just bad in it start to finish. And you would think that would absolutely sink the movie because he's fucking Robin Hood, but I still like the movie despite him.
I haven't seen that movie in so long. Like I've seen Prince and Prince in Tights?
Men in Tights. That's funny. I like
Men in Tights. I've seen that probably 10 times since I've seen that one last.
Well, it follows pretty much the exact same plot.
Yeah.
So you can feel like you saw it. Yeah, Prince of Thieves.
But I know that was always one of the big. Like I never had Laserdisc or anything, but that was always the big demo disc they had going at the, set up at the stores.
Oh, cool. But I've got like a special edition DVD of that I'm sure you can have on Blu-ray now too. That has a extended cut with a few added scenes. I love them. I think they're great because one of the things they early add is the relationship between the sheriff and that crazy witch woman. They show sort of a little bit more backstory of like how she raised him and what she wanted him to do and stuff. There's also a scene called Cancel Christmas, which is pretty funny too, which is just basically the sheriff getting really mad because of, Robin Hood's gang doing all this stuff, and he's flipping out and telling them about raising taxes, and and at one point he just goes and cancel Christmas, which is just funny. He's just mad. Alan Rickman, we miss you.
And plus,
that's actually my favorite role.
Alan Rickman, yes, that's exactly.
With apologies, I know everybody, like especially in our circles, will Hans Gruber, but for me, it's Sheriff of Nottingham. That's my favorite.
Alan Rickman's had tons of memorable roles, but
yeah, he's awesome in everything he does, man. I love him in Sense and Sensibility, for God's sakes.
Christian Slater, yeah, I was just trying to look who was even in that film.
Christian Slater's not good either. Most of the actors are good, but Christian Slater and, of course, Costner kind of stand out as pretty bad.
Did Costner direct that? No, that was Reynolds also, huh?
No. Yeah, that was Reynolds also. Although, as you said, I didn't know. At first, I thought that was how they knew each other, but as you pointed out, they got to know each other back in the 80s on that movie you said that I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was an early movie for both of those guys.
Yeah, that would have been like
I
'86 or
think
something.
I think Spielberg had something to do with having that movie made.
Yeah, that's Fandango, by the way, which I haven't
Everything.
seen.
It's not a bad movie at all. Very young Kevin Costner in there, but obviously you don't like him, so it's really not worth it. It may
and
have
Judd Nelson at the height of his fame.
Is Jackie Earl Haley in that one?
If he is, he's not listed here.
He's not listed
but
here. Okay,
he might have been. I thought he was gone by that point. Wasn't he just completely gone from movies in the '80s and most of the '90s?
Yeah, it's a lot of these type movies that kind of have a similar plot.
But he might have been. All I know is that Jackie Earle Haley was like a child actor, and then he disappeared for forever, and then came back like just a little. He did a couple things, and then of course it was a big deal that he was in Watchmen. Still really think he was great in Watchmen. He was the perfect person for that.
There's another movie where these kids go over to Mexico to just kind of party.
Is that Fandango?
No, it's a different movie.
Okay.
This was
Reynolds also directed a movie that I was really anticipating that let me down, and that was Count of Monte Cristo. I was really looking forward to that movie because I like that story, and I'm a big Guy Pearce fan. But that movie's just dull.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like it's particularly bad, but like it's just so, bland. I was really let down by it, man.
The film I was thinking of was Losing It from 1983 with, get this, Tom Cruise, Jackie Earle Haley, John Stockwell.
Wow, I've never even heard of that.
It's Shelley Long is the female in there, the older lady. Yeah,
that's the kids that party in Mexico movie.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Similar plot to the other one, just not quite as heavy. The other Fandango, like I think two of the guys are going off to the Vietnam War, and so it's a little bit heavier subject matter.
Another great thing about Waterworld is how it's really stuck in our consciousness. It's a movie from 1995. I know why it was big at the time, of course. It was the most expensive movie ever, and it's a well-known bomb. But I mean, it's never been forgotten. Everybody remembers it. It's still a goddamn ride at Universal Studios.
Yes, it still is.
So it's still something that has left an impact on people, and the people remember. So I'm guessing there probably are a lot of people that are softer on it than me and remember it more fondly. And I know that you're able to squeeze some fun out of it. I'm just not. I can't help it. I had a real tough time watching it, to tell you the truth, yesterday. I was surprised because I was expecting to be able to it's it's a pretty stupid movie. I can enjoy it on the level, and I really struggled. I couldn't. I just had problems with almost everything. And as I said, I can't help it because I go back and forth, about how, not all movies are created equal. So you can't judge them all the same way. And I can't help but judge it harshly because this isn't just some silly little movie. This movie was a big fucking deal. And if you're going to make a movie that's just stupid fun, then don't do it on this scale because that's not the right, I don't know. It seems very much to me that Kevin Costner wasn't going out to do stupid fun. He was being deadly serious and wanted this movie to be another epic. He got in love with epics after it worked for him with Dances with Wolves. He's just like, I can do epics. I can do an adventure epic. And I'm going to do another post-apocalyptic epic in the Postman, which is a quiet epic. It's not full of action scenes, but it's long as hell and sort of convoluted. But
yeah, it's had a video game which I don't think I ever played. I don't remember what system it was at. Maybe what would that have been?
It was on multiple systems.
Sega Genesis, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, maybe. 95.
For some reason, the Genesis one was canceled, as it turned out. But it says here Super Nintendo and the Game Boy, the Virtual Boy, and PC. Genesis was canceled. There was also going to be They planned a version for the Saturn that also got canceled.
Oh, I bet you that was
one. You showed me that Simpsons reference that I completely forgot about. Where it's put 40 quarters to play the arcade machine. I remember too, because it actually shows later in the clip. I'm pretty sure is he walks 3 feet and then he dies and it's over or something. It's oh man, and then he instantly starts feeding more quarters back into it. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. By the way, this also was nominated for some Golden Raspberries. Costner was nominated for Worst Actor, but he didn't win. Reynolds was nominated for Worst Director, which he didn't win, but Hopper did win Worst Supporting Actor. So it took away a Razzie, or a Raspberry, or whatever they're called, Golden Raspberry.
And see, I mean, I feel like Costner was worse than his Hopper was.
I do too, because like I said, I don't agree with what they did with Hopper, but he just did. He just took the direction and played it the way he was supposed to.
Oh,
where I just feel they knew what they were getting into.
The 95 Razzies, Kevin Costner won for Wyatt Earp. So let's see, maybe I'm looking at the wrong year. Let me look at 96.
Raspberry Awards. Yeah, 96, I guess. Must be.
Yeah, that's what it was. So he won one the previous year. That would have been awesome if he won one back to back.
Yeah, it's too bad. Like as we said, like Reynolds got nominated for Worst Director, but maybe Costner should deserve that too, considering he supposedly at least semi-directed this movie or directed right behind Kevin Costner or Kevin Reynolds sitting in the chair. Well, before I forget, I'll be back in 2 seconds. I'll make it quick, so you're not alone.
Sure. Can I ask Cole if he's seen Wyatt Earp? That's kind of widely known. Came out the same year as Tombstone, and I think Tombstone is
I get the graphic novel that I think is has some similar ideas to Waterworld. It's so great, and it would be neat maybe if they did make a movie out of it. It's funny. Paste magazine says a blockbuster in the making, and one of the things says like has summer blockbuster written all over. Anyway, I got this as a gift. It wasn't even on my radar, but it's called The Wake.
Oh wow!
And it's a graphic novel by Scott Snyder and Sean Murphy. Scott Snyder, people know of Batman fame. He's been a regular writer on Batman for quite a few years now. He's done a lot of the stuff in the modern era, like the Court of Owls and stuff like that. But so this is self-contained. This is a beginning, a middle, and end. There's no sequel that I'm aware of yet, and there's no prequels. This is the whole thing, and it's told basically in two parts. The first part is more or less set in our time, maybe a few years later, and then there's like a 200-year time jump for the second part. And in the second part, you have kind of a similar thing to Waterworld, but not quite, in that there still is land, but the idea is like we're losing land. And anyway, I think you'd really enjoy it. And the whole first part reminds me a lot of The Abyss, because there's a lot of it in like this underwater sort of station and stuff. But yeah, this is a really cool, satisfying read, because again, it's self-contained. You buy this, you have the whole thing. It's not like an ongoing series or anything like that. And yeah, it presents a kind of Waterworld that I think is really cool. It's actually very high concept. There's a lot of by the time it's over, there's a lot of stuff that's brought into it. But it's a pretty cool and imaginative thing, and maybe someday it will be a movie. Somebody here, somebody has epic summer blockbuster action film written all over it. So I don't know. Maybe.
What year did that come out?
This would have been, I think, 2014, maybe 2013. I got it 2 years ago, I guess. It wasn't even on my radar, but it's a very satisfying read. Like, it's not amazing, but it's very good, and I just bring it up as a great, for me, alternative to Waterworld, because I like the world they represent very much.
I thought you were going to bring up the French science fiction graphic novel called Aqua Blue from '88.
I've heard of it, but I've never read it. It's a lot harder getting hold of European comics.
That's what a lot of people say.
That is kind of my next phase, though. If I revive my channel, is trying to get into, because that's sort of, as I said, I'm well versed in the American and a lot of Japanese manga and stuff. But there's been a lot of good European comics over the years that I'm trying to. The last few years, I've tried to get more informed on, because there's some good stuff out there. Although it's hard finding translated or American versions and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. For instance, actually, it has nothing to do with this, but there's a space opera, a French space opera that's called Wake, which only the first 2 volumes were translated over here and released, and then they stopped. But it's French, so technically, if I could get the original, I can read it. I can read French, so French is a language that actually works for me. So I don't need a translation necessarily. I'd prefer one, but I can read French. I even do have some French stuff by Mobius. I have one of his early collections of Blueberry, a character from the old American West he did back in the '60s. That's in French, and it's kind of funny. I don't know. It's sort of funny, like seeing the various sides of like Civil War soldiers speaking French. It's funny.
Yeah, I've got quite a list of comics I need to pick up. You've recommended.
But as I said, this is cool because it's if you like some of the ideas of Waterworld, this is very different. It takes in a very different direction, but it's cool, and it's just a nice, satisfying read. It's not too long. It's in 2 parts, and each part is basically 5 comics long. So it's basically 10 comics here, and yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go too long. Sean Murphy's art is nice. It has like sort of like this kind of edgy, jagged feel to it that fits the world. Nice soft colors and stuff. Here's some underwater action in the first part.
Oh yeah.
Down at like a ghost rig, but I won't give away that. But yeah, I'm just saying, if somebody's like likes Waterworld or is interested in some of the concepts or just the idea of a world that's mostly water, The Wake is kind of an interesting exploration of that. So I thought I'd point that out. But yeah, I only know the title of the French one you mentioned. It's another one that maybe I'd have to track down. But actually, that's something I've been actively doing the last few months, is trying to get a hold of some more European comics and stuff, because there's just so much I don't know. So that'll be cool. But I guess we can wrap for Waterworld for now. As I said, with Heaven's Gate, I really did feel a little bit of sympathy for it, even though Michael Cimino's kind of a crazy man, and he kind of got what he deserved because of the way he did things in a way. But I do feel a little bit of sympathy just because I felt like underneath that there were some really good things about the movie. It's a very beautiful looking movie and had some good actors in it and stuff. I remember this wasn't a huge flop, but we explored, how AI kind of has this uneven reputation. Some people think, oh, this was like a big misstep for Spielberg, and other people think it's sort of an misunderstood masterpiece. I come down on the side of it's a deeply flawed movie, and I'm pretty sure that's we agreed on that. We kind of just sort of thought that. So I'm less positive on this one too. I just don't enjoy it. I don't know. From Costner all the way down, I have a lot of problems with it, but there's still a few things I can appreciate. The action sequences are probably the best thing about the movie. And then but I still feel like they undermine themselves with some stupid things, particularly the rescue at the very end. But
Sure. Did you want to talk about Black Panther at all, or did you want to wait till after we finish?
well, if people want to listen to some stuff about Black Panther, I guess
we can go ahead.
What's that?
No, so I figure we can go ahead and do it while we're on here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, some bonus content, I guess. So I saw Black Panther on Sunday nights, a couple nights ago. I'm a little disappointed. I didn't have huge expectations, but it was one I thought was kind of cool just because it was to the side of things, even though I will fully confess I'm an all-in person. I'm most concerned with how everything fits into Avengers. I really am. I can't help it. I'm on board. I'm invested. So I know the other day some of our friends, we're talking about the concept of like franchise fatigue. I totally get that, and I've suffered it with other things. With the Marvel movies, though, I'm kind of in it for the long haul. So I need to see this movie because it's another piece of it all. But I don't know. I still felt a little bit let down by it. I didn't think there was anything particularly bad about it. I think the main villain you have in there, Killmonger, he's actually very close to his comic counterpart. So this isn't even a problem with the movie. I just feel like he, even in the comics, is just sort of a weak-ass villain. He's kind of a punk.
Mm-hmm.
And he seems like he's beneath somebody like the Avengers. And it just seems kind of stupid that Black Panther's having so much trouble with him. But I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, as far as franchise fatigue goes, I mean, I think a type of movie like this is the perfect cure for that.
Right, because it's to the side.
See, I knew nothing about Black Panther. I've never read a book on it. I've never really heard a lot about it. I've heard of, Killmonger before, but I don't even know if they mentioned that name in the film at all.
Oh, they do.
Oh, they do? Okay. But I like Michael B. Jordan quite a bit, and I thought it was interesting.
I thought he did a great job.
I thought it was interesting that they didn't cast him as the lead because he is such a big actor. And I like the guy they cast as the lead, which he's also an American who I think does a great job doing an African accent.
Yeah, I think so.
But I enjoyed the film. I don't really have any complaints
I
about it.
still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it. It's not like I don't want to give the impression I didn't enjoy it. I still enjoyed it. I just felt a little bit let down. I don't know. Maybe it'll change over time. Just trying to think about how the movie ebbs and flows and stuff and stuff. I mean,
It was kind of hitting me in the face with Marvel trying to tap into maybe a market they hadn't been able to get into before, which is, obviously an African American
sure.
or, an African descent market.
Seems to have worked.
Yeah. I mean, as I told you, it was quite a few, quite a
And
few
even in
African
my
Americans.
theater, I mean, to let people know, Halifax is a pretty racially diverse place, but our biggest group of like minorities is probably not black people. So I can go all around town places and not necessarily see any, although of course they're around and stuff. So I go to lots of movies where there are no black people in the theater, and I noticed there was at least a contingent there with me, including a fairly old woman. But there were a couple guys in their 20s who were right behind me, and I almost wanted to ask them what they thought of the movie.
Yeah.
Just, I didn't mean from a racial standpoint. I just meant, what did you guys, think or anything like that. So obviously even that's even reached here where people of African descent have felt like, oh, maybe this is a movie that I should check out just because of my roots and stuff. And I guess there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, and I do have to say it is true. Some people have talked about, well, you should stop acting like this is the first black superhero movie because of like Blade and stuff, and Luke Cage has had his own series, and that's all true. But it is worth pointing out the difference that Black Panther isn't just some guy; he's a king. He's a king of a whole nation. So it is true. He's a black monarch. He's a black leader of a black country. So I get it. It is a little more significant that because he is very much a guy that represents a race because he's supposed to represent a country. Now, Wakandans aren't real. That's made up. But, it's still the same spirit. So, I can appreciate it from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It just seemed a little too overbearing in that regard. But
sure, yeah.
if that's what, people need to be able to, appeal to a superhero, that's great. More power to them. I always liked Blade. Even though I'm not a black vampire, I always liked Blade quite a bit.
Yeah.
But it's one main complaint I did have about the movie was Forrest Whitaker. I really couldn't get over the fact that was Forrest Whitaker in the movie because I just know that guy so well, and he was
it's the first role I've seen him in a long time, so I was kind of taken aback by how old he's gotten.
Yeah.
I think it's been a long time since I've actually seen him in something, so I haven't actually seen him lately, so I was just like, oh, God, he's old.
There was no absence of his lazy eye either.
Yeah.
There was plenty of that, and I thought the casting of the kid that played him, when he was younger was really good.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see much of it.
Yeah.
It's pretty short, but it's pretty good. One thing, I mean, I don't know about, but I would assume they probably crossed their T's and dotted their I's about what's the stuff about African culture. I assume if you're going to be that and like there's like real stuff in there, and even though again Wakanda's a fictional country, I'm sure they based a lot of that stuff on real stuff in real African countries, because I just couldn't imagine them making this movie without that being so important and just phoning it in, because that would just upset everybody and set off all sorts of problems. So I assume that it's pretty authentic when it's showing a lot of these African traditions and stuff, which is pretty cool. I mean, as somebody that's into other cultures, I know probably a lot less about a lot of African cultures and stuff. And one of the things I do appreciate that they show in the movie that's kind of neat and kind of unique about African culture is sort of the rhythm it has to it and how everything's kind of like a song. That's kind of neat. Like whenever they're in their ceremonies, there's always sort of like a beat going and they're always sort of moving and stuff. I mean, that's something that kind of stands out and makes them a bit unique from other cultures and stuff. Not that other cultures aren't musical, they all are, but it was something that I thought was kind of neat and adds a layer to the movie, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, the main thing about Black Panther is he's a guy that has to balance his life as some sort of costume superhero, but also the leader of a nation. And, that's what they're really trying to get through in the movie. I mean, it is pretty cool when you take into context this with the movie it follows, Captain America 3 Civil War, because you're just like, he's had a hell of a week.
Yeah.
He goes to like the United Nations with his father so his father can speak. There's an explosion that kills a bunch of people. Who is his father? So now he's king. He's not concerned about being king. All he wants to do is get back at the guy that killed his father. So he takes on the Black Panther mantle, hunts down Bucky, finds out it's not Bucky, gets in a big fight with a bunch of the Avengers. Then, while the Avengers are fighting each other, he tracks down Zemo and captures him. And then he goes home, and then he has to do all this. So that's kind of neat.
Let's see, the actor. I couldn't pinpoint where I knew him from. Wakaibi was his kind of friend who kind of turned against him there at the end.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Who was from Get Out. I was like, oh yeah, that's where I know him. I know those eyes, because he was always had his eyes open and Get Out. You know, like
he's the main guy.
The end scene, yeah.
Okay.
Where he was, he was kind of paralyzed in that chair.
I feel a little embarrassed that I didn't make the connection because I saw Get Out, only like 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little embarrassed I didn't recognize him. But yeah, he's okay. Some spoilers here. I did not see it. Sometimes when they set things up for later, it's obvious, like them talking about how like the trains are powered and stuff. Like,
yeah,
they're gonna have a fight down there, and they do. But one thing they showed early, then they brought back again that I did not see coming was giant rhinos in vibranium armor. I was pretty damn surprised when that happened.
Yeah. Well, they like even when he blew the horn, I still didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Oh shit, that's a giant rhinoceros.
Yeah, like we'd seen the rhinos before. They gave us a little scene where they showed them, but here they are decked out in like vibranium armor. I don't know. It seems a little weird to me that like everything, like none of it was shot anywhere in Africa, and yet the stuff in South Korea was in South Korea. But I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter because again, Wakanda is not real; it's a fictional place, and the whole point is it's super futuristic compared to the rest of the world, and blah blah blah. But I mean, they still had some real African landscape they could have shown, but I guess that wasn't Africa, wherever it was, when they were showing like the edge of the border, before you go into where it changes. Like, I guess even that wasn't Africa, but I guess it's not a big deal. I guess shooting in Africa is problematic for a lot of reasons.
Man, I just realized that was Andy Serkis. I'm
not used to him seeming so tough.
Wow. I thought he was shorter than that.
But, I mean, we've seen him before. He's in...
I imagine like Gollum, like that's tiny little Gollum.
I know. But that character you might have forgotten is in Age of Ultron.
Oh, okay.
That's why he lost his arm. Ultron cuts his arm off.
Okay.
Because there's a part where they're somewhere and he's just an arms dealer and he's trying to sell stuff, and the Avengers and Ultron show up and they get in a big fight and Ultron hacks off his arm.
I think he was probably the highlight of the movie, in my opinion.
It's too bad he died, really.
He died way early. I was expecting him to be the final boss, but of course not.
Well, I guess that's why that's supposed to kind of surprise you a little bit. It's like, oh, he's not the guy you got to worry about. It's this guy, and he's, it's tied into the beginning. That's all well done. That's fine. That whole stuff about, and then again, that isn't just some stuff they made up for the movie just so they could tie it to America. That really is more or less Killmonger's origin. Killmonger was of Wakandan descent, but instead of they have him like, where is it, like somewhere in California. In the comics, it's Harlem, but it's the same thing. Like, he was of Wakanda descent, but he like grew up like in the hood in the States, like as an American, and then he wanted to reclaim his birthright. Like, that is right from the comics, so that's kind of cool. So yeah, it's fine. I liked it fine, and I'm just happy to see Bucky. I'm happy to see Bucky because I'm happy about the things that move it forward.
That was the post credits.
Yeah.
One of the post-credit scenes.
Yeah. I can't even remember what the first one... Yeah, the end one was Bucky. What was the first one?
Yeah, I was ready to go at that point. I was standing up like at the exit when Bucky came on, so I was like, oh shit, there's Bucky. Okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah, I mean, nothing happens. They just talk.
Yeah.
Like, there's Bucky. They call him White Wolf, and they talk a little. But, I mean, it's a little surprising, too, because it's like, wow, like... At the end of Civil War, they make it sound like he's going to have to be under for quite some time. It's like, no, he's fixed. He's all ready to go. Oh, yeah, that reminds me. Here's one thing that bothered me about the movie. His sister. I don't like her.
Yeah.
His stupid little sister that's always, she's the smart little quirky genius.
Mm-hmm.
Did not like her. I didn't like. She wasn't terrible. Like she doesn't ruin the movie, but I didn't like her.
She seemed much younger than him for one thing, but
she definitely is. Yeah.
Played for some comic relief, I guess, for a few times.
Yeah, I mean, she's kind of like his snarky little Q.
Yeah,
you know, like James Bond, which I get. I'm not going to come down too hard, but no, I didn't like her. But whatever, it's not a big deal. But so chronologically, the next Marvel movie is the big one. It is Infinity War, Avengers, and then I think after that is the another one I saw a preview for when they showed this. It's funny, they're holding back the Infinity War preview, but they showed a preview for a movie that comes out after. I think it's after. I'll have to look it up. It's the Ant-Man and Wasp, which I'm sure I'll like more than this probably.
Who's going to play Wasp?
Whoever was in the first Ant-Man movie. I don't remember her name. Whoever that chick was. I don't know the actress.
It's been so long since I've seen Ant-Man.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, it's her. She's Wasp. What's weird is, like, I saw, like, a full preview for that. That must have been, like, at least a minute and a half. And in no way is it ever clear who the villain is. Like, I don't know who they're fighting. Like, I don't know who the antagonist of that movie is. I was just looking more forward to it because as much as I kind of enjoyed Ant-Man, I'm a little tired of the same thing they did with Iron Man and stuff, which is, oh, here's the hero. Now he has to fight a bad guy that's exactly like him. Yeah. Why? Yeah. You know, oh, he has to fight a shrinky guy. Oh, Iron Man has to fight a guy in another suit. You know, don't do that.
Black Panther has to fight another Black Panther.
Right, exactly. Like, that's how it always starts. Eventually they move past it and they fight other people. But that's my favorite thing about Spider-Man, is his villains are all so different from him. Eventually, yes, they got Venom, and that's pretty cool. But the whole point was Venom was a novelty by the time he'd shown up. It's like, oh, here's somebody that has powers like Spider-Man. Because for, decades, Spider-Man, in our time, Spider-Man fought against guys that had completely different power sets and abilities. And it was cool. It was cool to see. Instead of everybody just being the same.
Who's your favorite Spider-Man villain besides Goblin?
My favorite Spider-Man villain is Hobgoblin, not Green Goblin, actually, which I know is weird because he's a knockoff. And the original Hobgoblin, Roderick Kingsley. There have been several Hobgoblins, but the original. But besides him, I guess Venom, honestly.
And did you see the new Venom trailer? Or teaser, whatever you call it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's I don't know. It doesn't show you really very much to make an opinion on. It's him talking, and it just shows things. Like, it could be really good. They're just really holding back, which is fine, because I've complained about movies that, show way too much in the trailer. So, but this one is so vague that I just can't tell. It's so vague, All I know is, oh, there's the guy. That's Tom Hardy, and he's going to be Venom. That's basically all it tells you. You don't see any other actor in a role. You don't see anything, which is fine. I guess it's very restrained, but, it's not Marvel Studios. I don't like the Marvel Studios movies.
Okay. Is this Sony?
Yeah.
Oh, Sony's doing this. Okay, I didn't even realize that. See, it's... Why did they cast Tom Hardy? I mean, I like Tom Hardy, but why? Why not cast someone we don't know?
I don't know. Tom Hardy's not a big star.
Better than Topher Grace. I would say Tom Hardy's a pretty big star.
Is he? I don't think if I talk to people, they even know who he is.
Hey, chat, is Tom Hardy a big star? Orc's busy talking about the sausage factory being gay.
Okay, you're fired, Orc. I just solved your problem.
He says, I mean, we're not called the Cantaloupe Factory.
Right. That's a good point, Orc. We're losing it. We got to wrap up.
And he says Jeff Hardy is wrestling. Okay. So he's no help.
As usual.
Yeah. Michelle Williams. Nah. Woody Harrelson, Jenny Slate. Really?
Oh, she has a horrifying voice. What's she in?
Venom.
Oh, God. I have to listen to that in Venom? Like, she could be a great person or actress. That voice, I cannot abide. Hate her voice. And they know it. It's not like they don't know it. They cast her in things that
Yeah.
where they give her like an obnoxious voice. Here's obnoxious voice character. It's Jenny Slate. Like they know. So I'm not saying anything people don't know. Anyway, yeah, Black Panther was fine, but I guess it's a bit to help. It's not enough though. I'm going to be dying by the time Avengers comes out. But
when is that set to come out? 19?
oh, it's this year. It's this year.
Oh, it is. Okay, cool. Summer.
Or is it? No. Now I'm starting to doubt myself. I better double check this. Let's see.
Yeah, I believe it is 18. May 4th. You don't have that long.
Yeah. See. Okay, I'll make it. This is the one with all the toys.
Real quick, and I'll let you go. So, what do you think of the Stan Lee cameo in Black Panther?
One of his weaker ones. Like it's not like you want them to be funny. It's compared. Like some have been downright brilliant. This one, he's at the casino, whatever. But I didn't think it wasn't anything special. It just reminded me of how happy I am he's still alive. I'm gonna be devastated when he dies. Like I'm gonna be devastated.
You need to put him on your death watch poll. Death watch.
I mean, he's a guy that's aged really great, though. I mean, he's like 93, and I mean, I'm sure when you're 93, you're not in great health anymore. But I mean, he's in great health considering. And the best thing is, his mind is as sharp as ever.
Yeah.
People get into their 70s and their minds start to go, but he's, he hasn't lost any of that, which is nice. He's still himself. Because I mean, that's one of the other things about watching even people and stuff, age is like they're not really themselves anymore. He's still himself, which is great. And I mean, now that his wife has died, that seems to that exponentially increases the chances that he'll die. It's that his wife died, because that just seems to always happen with older people. If like one of their spouse dies or something, that they usually don't last a lot longer. But anyway, I don't want to talk about him like he's dying, because he's not. So. Stay in good health, Stan. I hope you outlive us all. Because, I mean, there have always been creative people and stuff like, celebrities or whatever that have died that have affected my life and stuff. But Stan's right at the top. I mean, I know there's all sorts of things where you can smear him and stuff and talk about how Jack Kirby actually, created all this stuff and Stan just stole it. But I just don't believe it. I believe that Jack absolutely was a big, huge part of it. But I don't believe that Stan was just some guy that swooped in and stole everybody's ideas. I just don't believe that. And that part of that's a bias, because I don't want to believe it. But, I mean, it's not like I haven't read about it, looked into it. But anyway, we're going to take this into rambling territory if I keep going. But, yeah, Black Panther was pretty good. It's February, so if you're looking for a movie to see, I'd recommend it, because there's not a lot to choose from at the moment. So, it's a good watch for that. I mean, I'm not thrilled that I went to see it in 3D and paid $14.99 for it, but that is the reality of movies in this day and age. So,
yeah,
at least I'm getting closer to enough points for another free movie. So,
I'm going to go check out that Natalie Portman movie tonight, whatever the hell that's called, Annihilation.
Annihilation. Okay, that's out. So yeah, that might be next on my radar. I didn't know if it was out yet or not. So it looks pretty cool. As I said, every time I see a preview for it or something, it reminds me of Alien Covenant, but I'm sure it's completely different. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, we've added some extra bonus footage on the end of this one. I hope you guys don't mind. I don't want to be sloppy or anything like that. But yeah, that was Waterworld. And yes, just to very quickly wrap up here, let us go going forward is we haven't decided exactly which one, but we're going to do one more water movie. Just, why not? Just one more thing to keep the theme. And then we will embark on something very big, but we're not going to give any details about that until next week, and we'll let you know. So that's it for tonight. So next week, hopefully, assuming everything goes to plan, we'll finish off with another water episode, and then we can move on to bigger things and let you know. So that's going to do it. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Sorry about the technical difficulties I had earlier. They seem to have resolved themselves. Don't know why that happened when it did. Bad luck. Sorry about that, guys. But thanks for sticking with us through it. That's Jay. I'm Cole. Thanks a lot for being here, and we'll see you later.
Thanks, guys.